But I want to expose people. I don't necessarily want to just have conversations with people. I want to expose their bad ideas, their malevolent
Okay.
behavior, or
Well,
their
yeah, that's fair enough. I
homicidal
mean, that
projection.
if it comes from that place that you're trying to expose, then yeah, it's definitely that's a good thing to do. 100%. I'd be 100% behind that. How do you feel about talking to me now?
How do I feel about talking to you? I feel fine.
Do you feel like you're getting anything from this conversation, or
A little bit.
well, possibly could you tell me like, so have you exposed anybody before?
Not like exposed. I mean, I want
Well, I
them to
mean,
know that somebody's recording them, and
yeah,
they should be careful what they say, because if they go too far, and somebody wants to take action on what they're saying, well then I'm just saying, knowing that somebody is listening to you, it doesn't even seem to actually phase the people who are making homicidal ideation death threats regularly.
okay, yeah, I can understand that. Have you ever come to the point where you've changed somebody's mind?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
People's personalities seem to be extremely fixed positions. Doesn't seem like you can actually change somebody uh, and their political position. That seems pretty constant.
Okay, right. Well, let me say this. Do you think that people are on here because they have an ideology that is not changeable, that is fixed?
That's not why they're here. They're here for I think, to dope up.
You don't think they're here to change people's minds and possibly indoctrinate people into their belief system?
Not really. Everybody seems to be very fixed in their position.
So it's more, like you say, well, like we've said, a dopamine fix.
It's echo chambering in here. Constantly. People
Yeah.
repeat themselves over and over and over and over. That's why I say they're trying to like either get confirmation bias all the time, get the dopamine, but I'm ready to actually shut off my usage of this app, um, and like
Okay.
take an August break, because
Yeah,
I have
that's
yeah.
be definitely good for your mental health.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you know what the alternative is? I like to read books, and when I
Mm,
get back into books, I realize just how foolish everybody is here. Like they're literally, it's like a brain rot exercise.
exactly. Yeah. Well, so I live in England, um, and it's summer now, so I have a hammock, and I'll sit in my hammock and I'll read a book, and I won't touch my mobile phone. I think this connection to other people is so it's wonderful, but at the same time, it can become somewhat traumatic with the fact that we have an open way of communicating with people that we have absolutely no idea who they are. And that kind of communication, it can be very, very difficult to digest. There's no stopping. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know who anybody is. I rent out apartments to people, I don't know who they are, but I have faith in myself, and I have, you know, enough confidence in myself to know that like I have confidence in other people. But nonetheless, you're gonna get disappointed. People are pigs.
Yeah.
People trash things. People are dirty. People are inconsiderate. People just they just they just they just do things which are they make people make bad decisions. You can't stop people from making bad decisions. So what I work on is how do I respond to people making bad decisions? Am I gonna get flustered and angry and scream and hoot and holler and yell and, eat my own substance up? Or am I just going to be an observer documenting, and analyzing, and then respond,
Yeah.
in a cool, calm, collected manner effectively?
Well, yeah, that's definitely the way to be. I mean, also the other thing is just to understand that I know it sounds cheesy, but this is a journey that we're on. We are all born and we're all going to die, and at some point, nobody will remember our names. It's about how we traverse this little bit of life that we live in. So it sounds a bit hippy dippy, but it's kind of how it is.
Well, some people are remembered. If you've ever watched a movie or a book, I mean, you are remembering the person that created that product.
That's true. I mean, have you thought about writing a book?
No, I mean, I like to read books, but I don't even know, I don't even have enough time to read. So it's like, how the fuck would I waste my time creating a book that nobody else is going to read? I need to read the books that are out there that are going to transform my life and maintain my life. I'm looking for wisdom, and that's what a lot of people on this app are not doing. They're just engaged in rhetoric and politics.
So yeah, I see what you're saying. So it's all about the noise, not about what's behind it.
Right. Yep. It's about the friction and the thrill and the dopamine of that friction, as opposed to the peace that can be created by wisdom.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm with you.
So what is it? It's like I think Elon Musk he says in politics there's too much signal noise, and so he can't. He has reduced the signal noise that he is receiving, and he finds it a much better place to be in terms of life experience.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, obviously, I suffer from. I say suffer. I don't suffer. I am autistic, so I do understand the fact that my brain will point in various different directions at the same time. So it's difficult to have clarity sometimes with, I suppose, just sitting down on a chair and just relaxing. That's not something that my brain can do. So
are you sure about that?
Yeah, 100%.
You can't just sit down and relax your brain through different techniques?
No, definitely not.
All right, if you say so.
I mean, well, no, I have to be active. I cannot stop, thinking. The only time I stop thinking is when I'm asleep, I suppose. And even then, I'm still thinking.
Well, have you ever done a breathing exercise?
Yes, yeah.
So what do you think happens when you do a breathing exercise?
I'm thinking about what's going to happen once I've finished this breathing exercise.
Well, have you done a guided breathing exercise, I should say?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, well then let me prove to you immediately that you're wrong about your opinion about your overreactive brain.
I'm very open to that. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so take the deepest breath of the day through your nose. Hold it for 10 seconds. Let it go and say, I am a flower.
I'm a flower.
Now take the second deepest breath of the day through your nose. Hold it for 10 seconds. Let it go and say, I am fresh.
I'm fresh.
Okay, so you're a fresh flower now. Meaning, you just got hypnotized. Because all communication is hypnosis. And, but you won't remember this conversation because the side effect of communication is amnesia.
I don't think that.
I'm just joking, but what I'm just trying to demonstrate is that I mean, have you ever heard people in a very contentious room? Very rarely, 1 out of 10,000, will you hear say somebody will say, "Let's take a 10-second moment of silence and let's do a deep breathing exercise." No, people just go into it like it's Mortal Kombat. So I'm just saying, if you want to control your mind, you can stop. You have the ability to stop thinking by forcing um, communication, by like saying "I'm a fresh flower." Like you are forcing your.
I see.
It's
Yeah.
it's the
Okay. Yeah.
linguistic. Yeah, it's like Hegelian dialectics, I guess.
I see what you're saying, but I think that so do you know what the amygdala is?
Yeah.
So your paleo system. So I feel like mine is constantly on fire. So it's constantly thinking about a threat that might be coming. So I think that that part of my brain is never able to shut off.
Well, it's just your opinion. I mean, because you may not be doing techniques to override your brain. Like, do you know what mantras are?
Yes, of course.
So, I mean, if you were to just say Om, and do Om 1,000 times, eventually you would, in a way, override your thought creation and speaking, interior monologue. You would become Om. So, it's one
I'm
way.
not sure. I mean, trust me, I've tried. Like, I'm not sure that's true. I mean, have you done that? Is that something?
I have, yeah, and I do it in the sun, or like after a jog, or I'll do it with music. I'll play musical instruments, and then if I'm still having thoughts, eventually my brain stops producing thoughts, and I become one with the activity, and I'm no longer thinking about how I got to go do this, and I got this problem, and this and that. I'm no longer thinking. I'm literally in the moment of now, playing the music, saying the mantra.
Yeah, I kind of understand that because obviously I work as a gardener, I'm a landscape gardener, and when I'm digging, I've got a tree, I've got to dig out a tree. It gets so difficult, and I get so tired while I'm doing it that all I'm thinking about is digging that tree out. And that's probably the only little space that I have where I'm not thinking.
Yeah. And so that's a good example of you being in what they call a flow state, or what you might call an alpha brainwave state or something. So I'm just saying there's a way to brain hack and get into your flow state. Clubhouse will not do that for you. Clubhouse it's like taking your brain and shaking it and shaking it and shaking it. That's what it does.
Yeah, I'm not here for that. I'm here for connection, I suppose, or just have an interesting conversation with somebody like you.
Yeah, I mean, this is a clown house analysis where we can discuss psychology and maybe educational approaches to making life better. That's the way I
I'd agree with that. Okay, well, right, I'm going to go and let the cats in and probably go to bed.
Okay, well, it's been fun chatting with you, Orlando. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's been a really interesting conversation, so thanks for that.
Okay, you're welcome. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Poland was there first, right? And then they got invaded by the Russian. The Polish have been invaded 500 times. Yeah. It's surprising they still have a country because they're not the brightest. So, tactical, I wouldn't assume that they would, be smart with tactics. But bravery and strength, if that sheer alone, they...
Welcome back to Clubhouse on a Saturday night.
Or you know it, you'll be teaching him how to fit.
Oh, that's a baby.
He's telling them. He's telling us all. That's a great point. He has the best points in the room.
I'd like to ask.
I love the cooing stage. The cooing stage for me, I love that.
It's so.
I'd like to
Like when they
ask
start
the
talking
room
back to you,
a
they're like,
question.
ah,
What have people here in Chilism learned about psychology, philosophy, and politics? I'm just wondering.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations, Sai.
and then they also have that death grip too. They got that grip.
I wear the.
The worst is when they grab their own hair. Oh my goodness.
God, yeah.
That is the worst. That is like the most scary and helpless you feel as a parent when they grab their own hair.
You complain.
Right.
But if people respect themselves.
I
But you know, here, that's the way that.
I cannot do it alone. And then don't talk. Yeah, this is a good handle. And I want to thank you.
So you pull out that little.
I went outside and chased the nigga down, and you cocked a gun.
Wow, but why though? That ain't cool. That ain't
You
cool.
in the house cocking a gun.
No, bro, that ain't cool though. That ain't cool
For
though.
cocking a gun in the
That
house.
ain't cool though.
For cocking a gun over
That ain't
the phone.
cool though. You putting out little scissors
For
and
getting
shit.
drunk and cocking.
Concussion, you know. So we should not use it.
I take
I'll give you my word for that. I guess the only thing that she's truthful about is the photos that I post here are from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Okay, that's true. But anything else is complete lies. Thank you for allowing me to say that, Miss Bina. And anybody, don't be surprised if this person sends you inboxes, messages about myself with these lies. Okay, she really hates me being on here now. So just so you know.
I just want to say something before I go.
Okay, okay, sir.
Like, look, speaking from a children's heart, okay? Just
play a game. Why are we not adults?
Nothing beats a jet ski holiday.
Nothing beats a tattoo. And right now, you can get 50% off. The fuck is you talking about?
Hello? Hello?
Nothing beats a jet ski holiday, sir. Would you like one that's 400 pounds of for a family of 4?
Concrete, I want to ask you a question.
I'm talking to ladies, beautiful black ladies in this thing.
On a Saturday night on Clown House?
400 pounds off for a family of 4. Do you not have a family?
200 pounds.
Do you not have a family, sir? If you don't have a family, just say that,
Well,
sir.
if you leave and you don't come back, I will miss you. So
Well,
you
if
might as
you're
well
a
send that.
single
You might as well
person,
send me
not
a DM. You might as well send me that number. That way we just keep in touch. You don't have to be like.
sir, do you have any family, sir?
You miss me every time I fucking leave. You fucking Crespo.
Concrete's got no life. He's here 24/7,
Do you have
7
any
days a
family,
week,
sir? For your
chit-chatting with
jet ski
people on Chillism all day, talking
holiday?
about
Do you have
nothing.
any family for your jet ski holiday?
I actually had to side with him. Like, literally, I was in Chilism, and I'm like, this is pathetic. I'm not even gonna
No.
This is pathetic.
We never
Pathetic.
tried with the jet ski
Let's say it
holiday.
all out loud together now. Pathetic.
Jet ski
Pathetic.
holiday for you.
Pathetic.
Nothing beats a jet ski holiday to the hallway. See you later.
Now you can think about it and answer me another time if you want to. There's no pressure from me. Maybe you can think about that, and I think that you would do something too, actually. You know what
Because, like, my mom used to buy corn nuts all the time, and he would sit and eat all of them. So I just started calling him Corn Nut. Then my niece is Chicken Little, because when she was little, she wanted to do everything the kids did. So I said she was Chicken Little from the movie. And then the youngest nephew is Squish or Bestie. It kind of goes back and forth because he says his TT is his best friend, and if his mommy makes him mad, he said, "I'm telling TT, she's my best friend." It's funny. Oh, and you're gonna tell too?
Mom.
Oh, and little dude wanted me to say that his mommy spanked him 3 times, and he cried and cried and cried.
Mom.
So he wants to say Mew Mew.
Mom.
What are you gonna do about that, Ashley? Can they hear us? No. Me and her have already discussed it, and we were laughing about it. She said, "I have spanked his butt one time." तत्र का परिदेवना आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवत् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वा केनं वेद न चैव कश्चित् देहि नित्यमवध्योऽयम् देहि सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि धर्ममपि चापेक्ष्य स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य नविकम्पितुमर्हसि धर्माद्ययुद्धाश्चेयोन्यत् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते
Destroying other people's property, I can't get behind that. But peaceful property today, meaning again something that you've earned outright and you've fairly traded for. I will radically defend you. I don't care who you are. If you harm another person in this region that is Israel, aka Palestine, I would 110% encourage. You've lost the ability to reciprocate rights. You no longer have the defense, and the defender's choice at that point. If you're going to harm another person, if you're going to cooperate with people who harm people, that's all. You are my enemy.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Beamer, for that. Hi, Mr. John. Mr. After you came back, did you want to say one more thing?
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm just listening.
Okay. Mr. John, would you like to say anything? Welcome.
Hey. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your title means necessarily, but, unfair Zionists. Like, I don't like the way that people use the word Zionist. And when I ask people, can you tell me what the word Zionism or Zionist means? It's always a really dithering type of, explanation because it's very generic. To me, Zionism means nationalism. So I think the Palestinians are Zionists. I think Lebanese are Zionists. Syrians, Zionists. Americans, Zionists. UK, Zionists. I think every country is looking out for its own self-survival and, proliferation. So to me, it's a useless word. It's a meaningless word. Don't say Zionist, just say nationalist. And that's it. Leave it at that. Because when you use the term Zionist, it gets into this ethnic, religious adjective description game, which means nothing. It means nationalism. Am I wrong here?
Well, you said your view of the definition of Zionism. To me, I think it's my intelligence level's low and my IQ's low. Okay, and nobody will get me to say otherwise. It's not a false modesty. I can only think about things in very simplistic ways. Okay, so if an individual lives in the United States of America, and I ask them, do you accept that that country exists? And they say yes. And I ask, do you have a problem with it existing? And they say no. That's basically what a Zionist is, but there's no name, like you said, for that person. It's only with Israel there seems to be a name applied to that.
Well, see, that's where I disagree, and people use it as a negative. Nationalism or patriotism should be honored if it's virtuous and authentic. If your patriotism and nationalism is racist, bigoted, and evil and angry in nature, well, that's not nationalism. That's just, nastiness. Or the opposite of nationalism, which would be what? Xenophobia? So, and I like in Bima's picture, it shows everyone in a state of peace and nirvana. She's got it backwards. You have it backwards, Bima. Nirvana and peace comes from within, and there will be no national peace or global peace until individuals at the individual level decide to take personal responsibility for peace in their life, and basically depolarize, depoliticize, and go inward as opposed to this never-ending outward politic propaganda communication. I mean, if people on this app were serious about peace, they'd be teaching meditation courses on here. They'd be playing music with each other. They'd be reading poetry, peace poetry to each other. They wouldn't be on here doing homicidal ideation till 5 in the morning. Sorry, Bima, but most people on this app have mental illness, and they're just homicidal ideation projectionists, and they live with hate in their heart. And that's the way people are. That's life.
Yeah, and I don't see any difference between Zionists and anti-Zionists. But I think, again, I'm very simplistic. I believe that's a peaceful picture that she has, and I believe her heart's in the right place.
I mostly agree with you, believe it or not. And it's so funny. Listen to this bit of conspiracy. This is obviously AI created. I did not ask it to do the flags, and then once it kept creating images with both flags, because I said represent both Arabs and Jews and Christians, and so it kept giving me these two, like just the flags. It was always flags. And then I started prompting it to not have flags, and just like, do not add flags, and it still would only give me the flags. So I think that's AI conspiracy, or maybe it's not a conspiracy, maybe it's just a large language model with a predictive text, and that's what we're putting into it. So our collective mentality, it's a nice mirror to see that our collective mentality can't even get past the point of the conceptualizing people living together without claiming this collectivist mentality, which is such a disease, John. And I agree with you. The individual needs to be taken care of. I love that. I would say the only thing that I would push back on is we can teach meditation and peace and these things, and I'm not going to disagree with you, but I think also that most people they're not inherently ugly individuals. And if we can figure out a way, which I'm definitely not the person to do because I'm not smart enough. I try, but I know I'm not nearly where I need to be. But if we could just break down the framework and let people understand their moral inconsistencies, they'd be able to adopt a better ideology. And I truly believe most people are rational people, if given the opportunity. So that's my hope. That's why I come in here and I'm on Clubhouse, and I like to debate people because I want you to expose your moral framework, and then I want to show you all of your inconsistencies, and because consistency is absolutely necessary for logic, and logic is necessary for, if you want to create principles, you have to have consistency. It's absolutely necessary. But most people are going to give you their opinions on politics based on emotion without any type of consistency whatsoever. No principles, just emotion. Like, let me ask you, John, do you have any moral principles that you use to run your life, to which you can put through any political issue that could be delivered to your desk right now, and you'd be able to take those moral principles and apply them and come up with an answer.
Yeah, 100. No, what is the golden rule, Bima?
Okay, well, let's see. Why don't you give me a few?
Well, the golden rule is treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated. And that's why October 7th was such a betrayal of your neighbor. And, that type of betrayal is very hard to forgive. It takes incredible mercy, incredible kindness, and incredible compassion to let that go. They were asking for too much on October 7th. And if you want to talk about genocide or ethnic cleansing, that was genocide and ethnic cleansing. And, when you open that bottle and the genie comes out and Pandora's box spills over, you fuck around, you find out. I mean, the leaders of Hamas are gone. They are dead. And if you watch their speeches, well, they hold up babies with machine guns and they're screaming death to the Jews. We're going, death to the Zionists. That type of political communication, plus shooting rockets every single fucking night of the week for years, it's insane behavior. So, again, go back to the golden rule. Treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated. And the United States Constitution says, friends in peace, enemies in war. Those are the golden rules of life. And again, fuck around, find out.
Would you agree that though would be inconsistent, treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated? Meaning, if you were to apply that to, let's say somebody in the, I don't want to use stereotypes. Take a couple countries. Okay. Listen, let's take a Gazan and let's take an Israeli, and we put them side by side. Do you think if we say, let's take the more frustrated militant of both sides, and we say, hey, golden rule, treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated. What do you think both of them are going to come up with the same answer?
It's a universal statement, and it's undeniably logically true. No one's going to deny that statement because people want to be treated the way that they treat others. And, it's a very important thing to recognize that, the way I treat you is the way I expect you to treat me. If I give you disrespect, I should expect disrespect. If I give you respect, you should give me respect. The moment I get angry with you and start yelling at you, I don't expect you to comply with me anymore. I don't expect you to be my friend anymore. So, but again, there's a big distinguishment here between your average militant and your average soldier who is in a career job type position versus an Islamic jihadist terrorist who is who is more than ready to die and to go to Allah. So there's a huge differentiation between the characters in this performance, and you lump them together, and I think that's where you have it wrong. There are different people in this casting, and you should be able to know which ones are problematic and which ones are just doing a job.
Well, I think sometimes, let me ask you the question, do you think that sometimes religion gets in the way of a person understanding the golden rule? If they've been taught, trained, and indoctrinated to believe that life should be this way, and this is what God says, and they need to follow God's path, do you think that could interfere?
100%. Islam is an all or nothing theocratic religious and judicial system all intertwined into one. So it's the perfect mind virus. And that's why it has spread to 2 billion people and why it was successful at the time. It was a response to Christianity. And it was a political response to Christianity and to the environment. Polygamy, warfare, lying to obtain one's goals, things like that violate the golden rule. So you show me where in the Quran or in any Islamic scholarly information or any kind of religious information where it says treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated. Show it to me. Show me the golden rule in Islam.
That's interesting. Have you seen the movie Heretic from 2024 with Hugh Grant?
No, haven't seen it.
John, check it out. I think you'd enjoy it. It's a psychological thriller.
See, I don't think, Bima, can you explain to me psychologically the revolution of Christianity? What was Jesus doing 2,000 years ago that was so revolutionary in terms of psychology, spirituality, politics, economics, the whole kit and caboodle? Who was Jesus, and what was he all about? And what was revolutionary about it?
Well, I think I could give you what the Bible says of who they believe if we consider Jesus to be a real person, and we say that everything that the multiple writers of the Bible, that they've interpreted it well, and the oral tradition of passing down X to X to X to X, right? If we believe that all of Torah, Old Testament, New Testament, if we believe all that's true, I think Jesus was an incredible person, obviously, and I think that would be an excellent way to operate life.
What was it in the environment during Jesus' time? Who was the reigning power, and what were they doing?
Why does that matter?
Let me ask you, does environment matter?
I don't think that there's any type of difference in, of course environment matters. That was actually my point to you. That's what I'm saying to you, that religion does. It does. It can affect you, but that we also have plenty of sects of Christianity that have read the same New Testament and have come out with, the Westboro Baptist Church, for example. So how do you explain those individuals? Or, I've gone to Baptist church where I've seen the preacher reject his teen daughter because she claimed to be possibly a lesbian, kicked her out at 16 years old. You think Jesus would?
No, I don't think. See, this is the thing about Christians is, that type of attitude and behavior is not compassionate or kind enough. But a lot of Christians are just men and women, and frustration with regards, to people's activities or political leanings, etc., is hard to really grasp. And that's why I say, like, an esoteric, philosophical metaphysic, or I guess energy, is a way to essentially depoliticize, is to view everything in terms of metaphysics or energy. And, removing the anger, removing the hate, removing the animosity, basically de-escalation. So if I'm in a conflict with you on this app and I'm a mature person, I can humble myself against my opponent and ask for, de-escalation, for compassion, for kindness.
Why do you keep saying that? I'm just curious. It's distracting me at my ADHD. Why do you keep saying that? I'm just curious.
If I ask a question?
Yeah, the way that you're saying it and then you re-say it in that way. What do you...
I've gotten so used to listening to people here on this app ask questions. I have a hard time saying ask anymore. So it's partly because of my environment that is causing me to constantly say ask as opposed to ask. I use Clown House a lot. I'm on here a lot listening. So naturally I absorb my environment, and now I too ask questions. Sometimes the hard questions.
Do you think that you're making it a deliberate effort to sort of mock people who say the word ask in that way?
What did you ask? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
It seems to me, I don't want to make an assumption, I don't want to make a claim. Are you deliberately using that accent, the way that you say ask, are you using it intentionally to mock people who say it that way?
So you're asking me if I'm saying the word ask to mock people who say the word ask?
Right, yeah, that's my question.
If they say the word ask using the word ask, what's wrong with me speaking like my fellow Americans? And this is an honest question I'm asking.
I'd like to. Could I derail a little bit? I'd like to hear more what John was about to say about when he asked the question. What was revolutionary about
when he asked the question?
Yeah.
Bima, when I ask a question, I'm just waiting for somebody like yourself to get upset over how I'm asking a question. And it's a trick question when I ask a question that way. It's to find out just how emotionally sensitive you are to people asking questions, if that makes sense. It's called wordplay, Bima, to find out just how emotionally intelligent you are. Sorry for asking too many questions.
I think emotional intelligence would probably be more of me making an accusation and making a judgment upon you. I was just asking you why you're doing it and if you're intentionally doing it to mock people who do it. And I guess my answer is yes. Was that correct? Was your ultimate answer?
I would
yes?
say that the question you just asked would confirm your suspicion that when I ask a question, I am, possibly, making fun of people who ask questions like that.
Okay, that's all that I wanted to know.
But going back to what Michaela just asked about what I asked about Jesus and what was so revolutionary about his way of doing things, or perhaps his level of awareness or his way of looking at the situation, guess what? Jesus, is very advanced psychologically in terms of emotional intelligence. I don't know if you know this, Bima, but a lot of the stuff in the Bible, it's called metaphor. And it's not literal. It's actually dealing with emotional intelligence.
What is emotional intelligence?
Well, for example, in the book of Philippians, it says, "My God will meet all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus." I mean, I have these little Bible cards, and I read them from time to time. And the wisdom in these little passages from this little book called the Bible, it turns out that it deals with how to deal with yourself and how to deal with others.
So, is that little book in your cards? What did they say about mocking your fellow neighbors?
This is from the book of Job 5:17. It says, "Blessed is the man whom God corrects. So do not despise the discipline of the Almighty."
Corrections, I think, are I love corrections. I would definitely say if someone said a word and you offered, hey, look, you said it this way. This is how it's said, and this is how you can, this is how we say it. But I didn't say correction. I intentionally said mock. What does your Bible or your book say about mocking your fellow neighbor?
Well, the book of Timothy, 2 Timothy, says, "God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." I just want to ask you, do you think a lot of the Free Palestine people practice self-control?
Nice deflection. Do you think mocking your fellow neighbor is an element of self-control?
Well, when I ask a question, to my neighbor, I generally ask it respectfully and transparently and authentically. I just wonder how many people on the other side of the fence also think that way.
John, you brought up the environment Jesus was in. What were you pointing towards? Roman rule?
Yeah, paganism. Absolutely. And the insanity of that environment, and seeing what pagans do in ancient Rome and how they treat each other, the mass slavery, the rule by Roman arms, The
And
the
he wasn't
poverty.
and he wasn't encouraging Jews to rebel, right?
No, he was an Enlightenment teacher. I think that he was nonviolent, and more of a pacifist than some type of revolutionary, counter-political figure. I think he was.
They fight for our land. It's our land. But that's what brought them down, because there were revolutionaries there, and they brought the wrath of the Roman army on them, which is, I would think that's sort of what the Palestinians are doing.
May I get in the queue?
Yeah.
May I get in the queue?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Jesus actually had some pretty good sarcasm, and I like the way that he uses mockery. Like, for example, Matthew 23:24, you blind guides, you strain out a gnat, but swallow a camel. I think this is a perfect example of the good Lord giving us instruction that it's not only okay to mock people, but it's encouraged.
Matthew 6:21 says, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Jude 20 says, "You, dear friends, must build each other up in your most holy faith. Pray in the power of the Holy Spirit." Bima, what do you think Free Palestine people think about when you talk about the Holy Spirit of God?
I think they wonder why the people committing a genocide on an innocent people don't have that spirit in them.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What is the law?
You're going to have to be more specific. What type of law? Man law?
Just tell me
God's
what the
law?
word law means in English. LAW. What does it mean to you?
It depends on the type of law you're referring to. Are we talking about man-made law? Are we talking about God's law? What are we talking about? Natural law? What are we talking
Just
about?
the word. It's a 3-letter word. I don't know if you're capable of actually answering the question that I'm asking. But what does the word in English, LAW, mean? You can Google it and look it up in a dictionary if you want.
Can you act in a more respectful way, please?
I do apologize. I am autistic and neurodivergent. So if I am coming off as rude, it could be because of my diagnosis. I apologize, sir.
Okay.
So I'm going to come up with my own definition. I'm going to say laws are collectivist, mentalist disease of a superstition, of belief in this myth of authority that gives some people a moral inherent power to oppress, violate, control other peaceful people. But that's what the law is.
Who is peaceful? You assume people are peaceful.
Peaceful people would be represented by any human being, regardless of sex, gender, race, any place on the planet, as long as they are not harming their neighbor or their property.
And don't people harm each other day to day with their words, their actions?
I don't think we can use words as an objective harm, right? Because of too much subjectivity. So it has to be like a specific violation, right?
And who decides who's peaceful?
Objective facts. So as soon as somebody objectively, so when I say that, I'm talking about a point where you actually see somebody touch or violate another person or their property, they are no longer a peaceful person.
So it's in an individual decision. One person decides who's peaceful and who's not, and then they can execute punishment on that. One person can decide the other person is not peaceful, and they can punish them.
Well, we each decide. So we all want to have maximum liberty, right?
Not you.
Not statists don't. Statists don't. But
Right.
maximum liberty.
Can I ask you a question?
A common ground to how we determine that, and that would be go ahead, Roger, go ahead.
So Bima, when somebody violates somebody's liberty, who has the authority to hold them accountable?
The same. Well, if you stop reciprocating rights in rights-based, so what is a right? All rights are mutual reciprocal understandings between consenting adults. Just me and you coming together and saying, hey, this is descriptive. These aren't normative rights, okay? This is a bunch of people coming together and saying, hey, look, let's all take it. Let's say we're not going to punch each other in the face. We're not going to hurt each other. And, now, okay, these are our rights now.
Well,
just like that.
So I would beg to differ. I would say that if what you're calling a right requires mutual agreement, that means that if somebody doesn't agree, then they don't have to recognize the rights. That's why that's why rights have to come from somewhere else. The authority to first of all, who granted these rights? Natural law, were they given by God? And the idea that you think that it has to be mutually agreed upon, if you said, hey, I don't want you to hit me, and I say, I'm not going to mutually agree upon that, I'm going to smack the crap out of you, then under your framework, I would not be violating your rights because it was not mutually agreed upon.
So, first of all, I answered your question of where the authority came from, and that comes from the individuals. Sometimes we like to say that they're God-given rights, but we know that God doesn't grant everybody the same rights on the planet, right? And if that was true, we'd all have the same rights on the planet, but we don't.
Bima, let me interrupt you politely.
Rights as Americans, and North Koreans don't have the same rights as Saudi Arabians, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's all different. So what we've concluded is descriptively, it's just what people decide to agree upon when they come together. They say, okay, this is what our standards are, and this is how we're going to interact. You let me know where your boundaries are, and I say, okay, these are my boundaries. Let's make a decision. The society that we live in the West, the federal constitutional republic, which is a democracy, that's all that is. The only difference is that you're tied into and
yeah. Good call on getting out of Bima's, projection there. She speaks as if, I don't know. She uses like technical, like Marxian terminology. Do you ever notice that?
Yeah, I think she's somebody that probably spent a lot of time, listening to anarchists talk, and then thought, wow, that's unique. Nobody thinks like that. Nobody talks like that. I think I'll adopt that because it makes me unique. And then really what she sounds like is a
robot.
It's very weird. Very, very weird.
So I don't know if you've ever read the Book of the Law, but I want to just read a thing in here, if I may, if I can ask to read this to jumpstart your What is Anarchy room. It's just one little paragraph. Do you want to hear it? It's a good jumping off point, I think. It says, democracy daughters, ferocious fascism, cackling communism, equally frauds cavort crazily all over the globe. They are hemming us in. Liberty stirs once more in the womb of time. Evolution makes its changes by anti-socialistic ways. The abnormal man who foresees the trend of the times and adapts circumstance intelligently is laughed at, persecuted, often destroyed by the herd. But he and his heirs, when the crisis comes, are survivors. Above us today hangs a danger never yet paralleled in history. We suppress the individual in more and more ways. We think in terms of the herd. War no longer kills soldiers, it kills all indiscriminately. Every new measure of the most democratic and autocratic governments is communistic in essence. It is always restriction. We are all treated as imbecile children. DORA, the Shops Acts, the motoring laws, Sunday suffocation, the censorship, they won't trust us to cross the roads at will. Fascism is like communism, and dishonest into the bargain. The dictators suppress all art, literature, theater, clubhouse rooms, music, news that does not meet their requirements. Yet the world only moves by the light of genius. The herd will be destroyed in mass. In the words of the famous paradox of the Comte de Phoenix, the absolute rule of the state shall be a function of the absolute liberty of each individual will. So I'm just wondering about that last part. The absolute rule of the state shall be a function of the absolute liberty of each individual will. Is that logical? Hello, is this thing on?
Yeah, sorry, I had to put the poll together. Everybody needs a poll these days, so we got a poll now. No, that was interesting. We should read that again when we get people in here. I'm gonna start pinging people, but I wanted to get the poll posted up here so everybody can cast their votes.
When I was young, I bought that, the Anarchistic Manifesto or whatever it is. It's like a booby trap book, like a warfighter book. I don't know if you ever read it, but supposedly it was banned.
Yeah.
Oh, the Anarchist Cookbook is what it was called.
Yeah, the cookbook. Yeah. There's a book by Michael Malice. If you ever want to hear an entertaining anarchist, you should check out Michael Malice. There's a great debate between him and God, I forget the guy's name. The objectivist. They were both on Lex Friedman's podcast debating anarchy versus minarchy. It was pretty interesting. It went the way you would expect it to go. Akima says anarchy is ultimate freedom. It's amazing.
I mean, what would you describe the conquest of the West and the journey west in America? Cowboys, Indians, far off, distant little towns. What is that anarchy, Hekima?
Why you getting tempted to mispronounce my name? You didn't finna say it right, then you just switched it up.
I mean, why don't you just tell me your real name? Is it like, Tony or Lamar or like, it's not Hekima.
That's fucking name.
How about Lamont? That would be a good one. Wasn't that the son from San Francisco?
Yeah. Why my name can't be Hakima, John? That's weird.
You call you Lamont?
I mean, it could be Hakima. I don't know.
But it actually is.
I like the name Lamont, though. Lamont's cool. That might be my next clubhouse name, Lamont. Lamont Sanford.
Is it pronounced Hakima or is it, Hakima?
Nobody pronounces it correctly, so you can pretty much do whatever you want. He's very accustomed to nobody being able to pronounce something that's spelled out fairly phonetically.
So if you're new in the room, be sure to fill out the poll. What is anarchy?
Yeah, I see a few people that haven't responded yet. Nye has not responded. Marta.
Yeah, I don't know.
Randy, Wallace. No, that's fine. You could give some thought to it. I'll tell you what. If you spend 5 seconds thinking about it, you'll spend more time, more thoughtful time thinking about it than, let's say, somebody like Dima. So. By the way, if you guys are connected to Bima, everyone invite her. Like, everyone everyone just go into you do the share button. If we all invite her right now, we will center Vima and we'll just all sit silent and let her drone on and on and on. And then every once in a while, John will interject and ask her a question.
You know, I wanted to ask you a question, Mojo. Have you talked to Daniel on this app? He's a Canadian who wears a red jacket, and he goes on and on and on about how he's going to solve the debt crisis. But his explanation is that money is all fictitious, dollars are all fake, so it doesn't matter how much we print up. And his method is he wants to give you a time expiration deposit of however much you want or however much you need. But if you don't spend it within the certain time frame, it'll disappear. But the money that you do spend and the people that take your money and give you goods or services for the money, it doesn't expire for them. Okay, so have you talked to Daniel about his incredible idea on how to tackle that?
David, you have to mute yourself. David, if you're going to stay on the stage, you're going to have to play like an adult. Let's see if Alfonso wants to come up. Alfonso's like probably the friendliest guy in the religious rooms. And by religious rooms, I mean people arguing about religion. Alfonso, you're the smartest atheist on the app, right?
I don't know what smart means, but I think I am a different type of atheist, sort of.
Yeah, I don't hear you're making the dumb arguments. Is my point. I guess.
Whoa! All hail El Normo.
Yeah, hold on. We're talking to Alfonso. We don't always get Alfonso. Alfonso is a. Let's talk to Alfonso for a second. Alfonso, you explain to the room your position on the absence of God.
So, well, I've got a bit of a journey to tell how I got here, and then why it makes sense to me to say that in the traditional sense, God, there's no way God would exist, right? I'm not an agnostic. I actually claim to know for a fact that there are no gods. But I am willing to entertain the idea that we can use that as a metaphor. We can use an analogy to say, I'm having such a great time enjoying the company and the conversation and feeling enlightened. So God is moving among us, right? But that's a metaphor. That's your happiness,
Okay, David, I warned you. Go on, Alfonso.
So, yeah, and one of the strongest, I guess, arguments that I don't like to debate or argue, but one of the strongest thoughts I have about spirituality and theism is that for most spiritual practices, you must believe that you are a soul, independent of your body, right? People say, I have a body, but I am my soul. And I think that has been greatly debunked by modern science. We know that. So the arguments that we used to hear for the soul was it was the energy that gives us life. So as long as as soon as the soul left our bodies, it was the energy leaving it. And now we understand that by eating food, by got all these inputs of energy, and we know what these energies mean. We can objectively measure them, right? So that argument of energy leaving the body's kind of fallen through. And the other one is your personality. That's who you are, right? But now we know that our brains have different functions and different parts that interact to create our personalities, and you can affect these with chemicals or trauma or tumors, and your personality will be radically changed. So those are a couple of very strong arguments for me to think that spirituality is it's a beautiful story that we've been telling each other, that we've evolved, through these stories evolved through us, but they're no longer relevant, right? Those are a couple of thoughts on that. And also, if you want to actually question the existence of God, you can't even define God, right? God kind of serves the purpose of us understanding reality or paradigms. Well, sorry, I'm picking someone up in my Uber, but yeah, I'll leave it there for the time being.
What I don't understand about atheists is, you know, have you been to a book club? Have you debated books, talked about favorite things that you read in books? I mean, that's what people are doing. And so if you think that there are no gods and there's no spirituality, but you still use terms like soul, I mean, isn't that tied into this whole God universe of the Marvel comic book known as the Bible? So I just question and ask, why do people not like information? Why are you so negative with regards to information? Is it because you don't want to read it anymore? Because you don't think it's real? Or is it really just because people are lazy and they don't want to do anything other than the easy solution, which is click a button, pick up a device and just stare at a screen and click a button? So that's why I have surrounded myself in books in my house, and I find the value of those books. And I know a lot of wealthy people. A lot of those wealthy people do have pretty big book collections, but it's generally the angry people. A lot of girls I've noticed, I go to their house, they don't have any books in their house. They got everything you could possibly need except for books. And I'm just like, maybe you're angry at the world because you don't have enough information to help you get yourself happy. It's called psychology or therapy or wisdom. Those are my thoughts.
John, speaking of reading a lot of books, in 2016, I set a goal for myself that I wanted to read one book a week. So I wanted to read 52 books, and I got to 49. So I fell 3 books short of my goal. And then after that, I got so fatigued by it that now, like, I just download things on Audible. Do you consider audiobooks the same as reading?
Yeah, I think if you're really listening and it's flowing through your brain and processing, and you're actively listening, it's just a great way to read a book, to listen to somebody read a book.
Even if it's at 1.5 speed?
Yeah, that's what I bring up the speed generally, or 1.25.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, let's get into the topic, guys. What is anarchy? Anybody want to take a shot at what is anarchy? We got a poll here.
Accurately described in your poll. What was it? A childish philosophy. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Has everybody pinged Bima? Let's ping her.
Not friends with her, are we?
Well, we'll just go be friends with her and then ping her.
I think she has the one.
I pinged her, but I think she's modding and running her room and getting her dopamine. Mojo, do you think people come here to dope up?
I do. We've got an anarchist. I wonder if she's got a different answer than some of us do. It'll be interesting to find out. Oh, welcome to the stage, Al Pacino. I don't think I've ever seen Al Pacino in one of my rooms. I've had other celebrities, but not Al Pacino.
And okay.
Yeah, if you were Al Pacino, you'd afford a better microphone.
No, I'm from Sicily, but I live in Germany. Yes, where are you from? Are you from?
Respectfully, nobody cares.
Okay, but I just saying this, okay? It's okay.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. I don't care about you. It's okay.
Say hello to my little friend.
Say hello to my little friend, okay?
You want to play rough?
Just joking, bro. What you say?
You want to play rough? Okay.
I play, okay? Okay. No, I'm.
When people laugh at Italian. I fucking hate it. Don't do the Italian laugh. Can you laugh in American, please?
I don't know. In USA, I don't know. You love,
I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with this at all.
Okay, you hate? Okay, wait, my friend. you hate Italians?
Let's get back to the title of the room. Can I ask a question here? Can anybody tell me the root causes of anarchy? Where does anarchy come from?
I'll tell you the root causes of this room and why Bima has that opinion. Bima is a blank slateist. She doesn't believe that pit bulls are any different from other dogs, so.
What did any of that mean?
No, that's it. She's a pit bulls change her life and they have a bad rep. So she's like, they shouldn't be collectively punished.
You think if she shaved her armpits, got some some effect?
She doesn't shave her armpits.
No, she does not. But do you think if she did, this is her words, not mine. So you think if she did shave her armpits and got some effective deodorant going on, maybe styled her hair in a modern way, perhaps considered some makeup, put on some heels, and lost a few pounds, you think she would maybe abandon this anarchy thing and realize that joining civilization might be a good idea?
It's possible. It's very possible. I think she just needs a shift in perspective.
I'll bet you she comes back to this room.
See, those are the health outcomes of, a lack of intelligence or wisdom or really understanding one's environment, I think, and what is natural and what is unnatural. I mean, asking the question again, what are the root causes of anarchy? Is it government?
I would say it's, mental retardation. Because if your solution to the problem of the government can have in terms of overreach, usually what that would lead to, let's just say she was successful, there was no state. What we would have is somebody trampling on her rights on a more consistent basis, and she would have no recourse to deal with it. I think the thing that she forgets is that as imperfect as government is, and as much as government does trample on her rights, it's the least amount of trampling that she's going to get in this world. Because should she ever get her way, the true authoritarians would take over. I think that we have a very thin line protecting us from complete animalistic behavior, and I don't think she fully appreciates that. If anybody else wants to chime in with their expertise on anarchy, please go on. Or your amateur opinion, doesn't matter. Just jump in. Okay, well, everybody's quiet. I'll ping.
Well, Hakima, Hakima, let me see. Yeah, anarchy is ultimate freedom. Hakima, I don't know if you're trolling or if you're being serious. I'm gonna assume you're serious. I almost voted the same way as you, Hakima. But then I had to think about it. I'm like, you know what? Let me go Google some shit. And then I realized, Hakima, I actually don't want to have an anarchist society. I don't want a lawless society, Hakima. I mean, unless the shit hit the fan, you know what I mean? If the world was poverty-stricken, if there's no food, I don't know. If the government turned, like the Mad King and Game of Thrones and wanted to burn us all, perhaps I would join the anarchists. But, no, I like law and order, Hakima, so I decided to vote the opposite of you, but for a second there, I was considering rocking with you on this, Hakima.
I just gotta say one thing to that. Sorry, Kima, go ahead. Looks like you're about to say that. Thank you. Just one thing to say. First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women. That's what I got.
Was that Scarface?
Yeah.
So I mean, if the drug, the war on drugs, I think that's an example of anarchy. I mean, why let Colombian narco importers and traffickers and terrorists control the cocaine market? If that's a chemical additive that people want to put in their diet, why didn't the U.S. government and U.S. capitalists monetize that chemical? Why instead have we taxed countless generations to pay for a military war against narco traffickers and terrorists? Why aren't we smart enough to control the market internally as opposed to letting international exporters, bring it on our shores and make all the money, as opposed to us taxing ourselves and spending all the money to fight the people that are making all the profit? Explain that one to me.
Actually, they're doing both. They need it illegal so they can lock people up for it. But they're not worried about the tax money. They want the money in form of incarceration. That's what they prefer. Trust me, they know everything you know, and they chose the way that suits them best, and that's mass incarceration. It's not about taxing. In a free country, you shouldn't be able to use cocaine. I wouldn't use it if it was legal, but a person that wants to use it should be able to. But so they want to keep it illegal so they can lock people up.
Wait, John, hold on. If I was processing what you're saying correctly, don't the traffickers have the better drugs though? Just curious.
Well, I think your average psychiatrist that prescribes Adderall is actually doing the exact same thing that cocaine importers do. And cocaine and Adderall, to me, I don't think there's any difference. So white people or anybody in America that has a psychiatric prescription for Adderall, they literally have a license to use speed or coke in their life legally without getting locked up. But you got to get it through a psychiatrist.
And maybe that's the thing. Some people don't want to get a prescription or go through a doctor. They just want to go to, the trap king or queen down the street and get the hookup. It's just easier, less drama, less paperwork, less conversation, very transactional, and keep it pushing. Right?
And it's cheaper.
And there's no record. Like, there's medical records if you have to go through the doctor. There's no paper trail if you just go to the cartel or the local drug dealer. Choices.
I'm going to give you the best example of anarchy at work and being effective. This is the best example you're going to get, and that's with language. The United States doesn't have an official language, yet there is an agreement socially that, hey, it would just be better if we communicated in one standard language. Yes, there's people that speak other languages, some people that don't speak English, but the overwhelming majority of people in the United States and actually around the world, learn how to speak English. And here in the U.S., again, while it's not an official language, the government hasn't said that English is our official language. We print documents in multiple languages. It's a generally accepted thing that this is how we're going to interact and communicate with each other. And that's an example. You can put all the thumbs down you want. We communicate in English. And that's done in a way that people prefer to do it, because I think we all would agree that it gets messy if it's Tower of Babel and everybody was speaking their own language.
I live in anarchy. Because there is really no rule of law here. My country, Bolivia. So it's, but I also think that no matter how we want to find freedom or do away with our organization, allow people to do as they please, that's an impossibility, right? Nature rules consequences. So order is something that just happens naturally and we can't avoid it. But as I was saying, in my country, you've got laws and then you've got what's actually done. And that's kind of relevant in many places, right? I think depending on how astute or intelligent your lawyer is, you can bend and twist things to fit your agenda, but especially crazy here. You're much better off bribing people at the first sign of them not wanting to cooperate. Otherwise, they're going to give you a hard time, even if you're trying to do things legally and orderly. So yeah, probably, if you guys come to Bolivia, you'll realize what it means to actually live in anarchy.
You know, there's in Spain they have Catalonia, which that's about as anarchist as you can find in a first world nation. Is anybody familiar with Catalonia?
Is it in Spain?
Yes.
My last name is actually from Catalonia, Catalan.
You know, they have their own pope there, actually.
Yeah, so Catalonia is very rebellious and probably the most anarchist place. What I find interesting, though, I don't know if you guys know this, but in Catalonia they have a tradition in the nativity scene where they have what they call the cagané. The cagané loosely translates to the shitter. And so in the nativity scene, they have a figure that's taking a soft swirl style shit, and they put this in nativity scenes. Like they have a huge shopping center with a 3-story tall kagane, where the shit pile is as tall as a human being, and they tried to remove it, and the people went absolutely bonkers. This tradition is older than the United States. It's more than 250 years old, and they love it. In fact, there's a website called Kagane.com where you can get your celebrity Kaganes. Like you can get a Donald Trump Kagane, you can get an Elvis Presley Kagane, you can get any Kagane that you want. But these are figurines that are squatting down, and then there's a little pile of shit that's the shitter. They believe that was a piece of tradition that was left out of the nativity scene, and they like to bring attention to it and hold strong on it. Has anybody ever heard of the Kagane?
I have not.
Yeah, I'll pin a link in the chat to Kagane.com. Hold on.
Yeah, there will be either, because you know about Doc Ellis. But Mojo, riddle me this. Could one argue that there's organized anarchy, and I don't mean January 6th, I don't mean BLM, I mean organized from within, such as the 2008 housing crash, where there was, as defined in anarchy, a lack of authority overseeing these mortgages that they were handing out to strippers that couldn't pay these houses off in 3 lifetimes. The opioid crisis, where was the authority there, handing out painkillers for stubbing your toe? Now, unless you have a gunshot or something, you walk into the ER, good luck getting opioids. So it's just, in both of those scenarios, there was major disruption to people that were not direct. So obviously the housing market made housing unattainable for quite a while. Folks who were legitimately in need of painkillers were gone through more of a thorough screening process, if you will, skeptical process, if you will, from doctors. So, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we do where government is in the way, government is wrong. I think regulation in general is often misguided. But I think the answer to that is not having no government. I think the answer to over-regulation is less regulation, and the answer to bad regulation is good regulation, and then just understanding proper role of government in general. I think there's a danger in rejecting the idea that there should be an authority that could make rulings. I'm a firm believer that you need to have a judge, and I'm just wondering if anybody would disagree with that, either that's on the stage or in the audience, anyone that thinks that the world would somehow be a better place if we didn't have military, police, or a judge courts, essentially. No, I guess we're all in agreement. Great. I
Well,
can shut the room down.
having been to court, a couple times in my life for speeding tickets and other things like that, to me, it's basically like dealing with robots. Literally, the judge demands a guilty plea, and then you have to confirm it, and then go pay your fine. So, a lot of this is anti-constitutional. I'm just saying, a lot of the legal industrial complex operates off of anti-constitutional behavior. No jury trials. It's like automatons. It's like dealing with robots that have no care and compassion. Then occasionally you get a judge who has a YouTube channel who puts up videos of people who have absolutely nothing or living in devastation and destitution. And, because of the internet, those videos go viral. Then a GoFundMe campaign gets built up for this old granny or young single mother or whatever. And then they get a little social equity justice. But I'm just saying that to me, robot people are the worst people in society.
But if you know the rules and you show up, it doesn't have to play out that way. I hear what you're saying. A courtroom these days favors those that have money enough for representation. And also money enough in case they want to remand you to jail, you can pay your bail, and so poor people have a different justice system in this country, and I think that's something that we should talk about.
Yeah, JB's bringing up prosecutorial misconduct and basically Russiagate and what happened to Donald Trump, but. When I went to court, it was amazing. If you had legal representation, you got to go first, and you got to get the hell out of there quicker than everybody else. So, having money to buy a lawyer also saves you time.
JB, what do you guys say?
This is the island of misfit toys. That's one thing. The second thing I'll say is not the judges. I don't feel a problem. This is remand space. Many judges and police are not the problem. The problem is the prosecutors. Here in New York, and I'm pretty sure in pretty much most major cities, the prosecutors share the same building as the judges. The defense attorneys don't, but the prosecutors do. It's 100% the good old boy network. It's 100% if you have money, you're going home. There's no mechanism in place to stop these prosecutors from falsely charging people or overcharging people. That, my friend, is what I feel is the problem. Not the judges, not the police, the prosecutors. I rest my case, Your Honor.
What about the legislators that make these laws possible for the police to apprehend you or the prosecutor to prosecute you?
Yeah, I was gonna say they all. Go ahead, JB.
I was just gonna say, bro, here in New York, our legislator, they love criminals. You can punch a cop in the face and you're going home the same day. So I don't know. The only law they've enacted that I'm aware of lately is that there ain't no bail here in New York, so you can fuck anybody up you want. You're going home to your wife at night.
Yeah, I was gonna say they all the problem, from the legislators to the judge to the prosecutors to the police. Like you can't have one without the other. They all one entity. I don't separate them. They all part of the problem.
Well, it's the economic disparity that prosecutorial misconduct grants them, that they are funded by the state to take you down with unlimited resources. Meanwhile, the lawfare or the trial is the punishment because you go broke defending yourself.
What do you think of people that falsely accuse people of things? Do you think we could get a law like that if like, I'll be extreme here. If a woman accuses somebody of rape and we could prove that she's lying, could we then maybe say that she should get the same punishment that the rapist would have gotten?
100%. False accusations of any type, any false accusation should be met with the possible penalty of that person. Like, I don't care what it is. But there's no punishment of false accusations. It's like not, basically, there's not. And that's terrible. They get people to dream like this. Keep doing it. People should definitely. I think prosecutors and police who work hard to find a perpetrator, they just charge anyone. I think they should be fucking prosecuted when they knowingly like fuck had a law. They be knowing a lot of times they don't have the right person. And they move forward anyway just to get a conviction. I think they should be fucking prosecuted.
Absolutely, perjury should be taken very seriously. But I think JB, really brought light to a very, very important point that a lot of folks have no idea the power a typical DA has in their city. They're elected officials, right, or appointed by the mayor. What does the public want to sleep at night? Their kids are safe. Convictions, get the bad guy. There is a great series on Netflix called The Confession Tapes, where each episode is about somebody confessing to something they didn't do because they've been interrogated for 12 hours. And after the first 9 hours, you eventually break. And everyone, who would possibly admit to saying something, admitting to something you didn't do. But there's studies that show that they do that, and DAs have no problem, no gumption with holding exculpatory evidence that could actually exonerate them from the beginning and not even a trial, because they want the conviction.
Let me tell you a story real quick. Swearing everything I love is a true story. Somebody I did time with, right, was charged with 2 counts of rape. 2 different women came forward. And the guy got crazy numbers, football numbers, as we call them, behind the wall. And they put him away. Well, a decade later, they find out that the police and the prosecutors promised both those girls different things to lie because they wanted this guy so bad. It's absolutely a true story. Matter of fact, he was able to prove he wasn't even in the state at the time, and they still moved forward with charging him. Now, if that's not prosecutorial misconduct, I have no fucking idea what is. This dude gave a decade of his life for crimes he didn't commit. And they were able to prove that the prosecutor lied and coerced these women into lying. Nothing happened to them. All they did was get a promotion because the conviction rate was through the roof.
Exactly. I mean, when they do get their prosecutorial misconduct, hand caught in the cookie jar, I think it's something absurd like 1% or less than 1% are ever held accountable. Maybe less than 5 in the entire country have ever been actually fired. Like it's there. This just fear of a bubble of protection around them is crazy.
Moose, check this out though. So the guy does 10 years. He can't sue. Because you can't sue a prosecutor, right? And not only that, if you Google his name, guess what comes up? The charges, not the conviction, not to overturn the conviction. The original charges always pop up first. So now he's a social pariah because he was accused of something with no facts, was found guilty, and he's struggling in life because of it. Imagine that.
On your record for life, and you never did it. Or if you're lucky enough, you signed a plea deal, so you do less time, but it's on your record for life, even though you didn't do it. Like, literally every attorney on both sides of the aisle say if the plea bargaining system didn't exist, the justice system in this country would collapse.
Well,
there's a, go ahead, JB, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, not just that Moose, but also the fact of where are all these people, and I'm not saying you don't apply let it fly, but where's the outrage in this country that prosecutors have so much motherfucking power to steal somebody's life? That dude will never be whole. No matter what comes out, no matter what evidence he can produce. When he goes, he can't even get a job, bro. The dude can't get a job because let me tell you what companies do, even though it's illegal. They don't do background searches. They save the money on that, and they just do a Google search. So if it comes up, Moose likes to fuck Moose, and you don't, guess what? That's what they're gonna see. It's a horrible, horrible system.
There's a, it's either a movie or a series on Netflix. It's about a girl who was raped, and she goes in and she tells the police, right, a few times, and they don't believe her, right? This is like the 80s, I believe. They don't believe her, and ends up being, she gets prosecuted for lying, okay, really, and he's like a serial rapist, violent serial rapist, or a murderer, I believe. I can't remember, it's been a minute since I've seen it, but it's really bad. But that's a true story. Give that a watch.
Yeah, let's welcome Necro, Tomato, Sloan, and of course Dr. Jordan. Welcome to the stage. Looks like Sloan is new to the house. A couple of pink tickets. Lou still has his pink ticket. He just likes to hang on to pink things. But
well, when in Rome, Mojo, I'm in the name of your house. Come on.
Yep. In the muff. Hang on to your pink thing. Anyways, I want to get us steered back to the topic of anarchy. I think we've had some people take a shot at the definition. Necro, you're romanticized by the idea of anarchy. Why don't you give your definition?
Yeah, so it basically is, definitionally is that there are no sorts of restrictions on, any sorts of freedoms that we have, essentially. And the government is the only thing that limits those freedoms. So, authority.
But Necro, walk me through then how we have left-wing anarchy, right-wing anarchy, and one version says that property is theft, and then the other has their entire philosophy built on property rights being the most important right of all. How without a police force and a court system would you determine whether property is theft or property is a right?
Yeah, and so, that's one of the things why I think it would never work, ultimately. But, you have, the basic definition of right, or having property rights, is what would divide anarchists, definitely.
All right, you didn't answer my question. So who would decide? Who would have the authority to decide a dispute between a left-wing anarchist and a right-wing anarchist over property? Like, let's say you think that I have stolen it because you're a left-wing anarchist and think it's theft, and I have ownership of it, and so who would decide whether or not I get to stay or go with this property?
No one. There is no authority.
You just flip the anarchy coin. Just flip that. You got your tails anarchy coin. So.
I mean, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how we decided. Do we just play a game of Hungry Hungry Hippo and whoever wins? Do we flip the coin like Moose says? Do we do dueling pistols at 12 paces? I'm just wondering, what do we do here?
You've answered your own question.
Yeah, rock, paper, scissors, and
you just take what you want.
Has more guts. Yeah, your answer is mine.
Tomato, go ahead, give me the answer.
You answered your own question. It's a paradox. It doesn't exist. Even the smart people on Clubhouse demanding an anarchist society, they're not serious. They're just fucking with you. Because if anarchist societies existed, precisely zero of the Clubhouse anarchists would move there. It's just a debating point. It's not serious mojo.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing is that in the U.S., the vast majority of anarchists are right-wing anarchists, and globally, they're left-wing anarchists. And I totally agree with you that this is all just like some philosophical debate club shit, because the people that say that they're an anarchist, they don't do anything to mimic that. If they did, they would like go and move into Amish country, who are the closest thing that North America has to anarchists.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends who claim to believe in certain things, and they move to societies that espouse it. So they have credibility with me. Like I've spoken ad nauseum about Singapore. Well, I have a lot of friends that wanted the Singaporean government. They moved there. They're happy. And then I have friends who wanted a more free, libertarian existence, and they've moved to New Hampshire. And both of them are valid. The people that are not valid are the people on Clubhouse who they complain all the time, but they never get off their ass and actually move to the place they claim they want to live.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. Did you read the story about the town in New Hampshire where when they got enough of these folks together to take over the city council, one of the major things they did was they got rid of the ordinance that forbid you from feeding bears, and by allowing people to feed the bears, there was no prohibition on it. The bears started getting more comfortable, got closer into the town, and then eventually human beings started getting mauled by the bears. So there's as much as I love freedom, there's certainly a level in which if your love for freedom leads you to do stupid things, which is what I think anarchists do. I feel like anarchists are the ones that have they've decided to just go to the extreme of this idea of freedom, this notion of freedom, and to the point where they will ignore common sense. And so I don't know if you've read that story, but it's an interesting read to understand what happens if the anarchists were to get their way. We'd essentially get mauled by bears because they're stupid.
Have you seen Wild Wild Country documentary? That's a form of anarchy, I'd say. I mean, at one point they actually, the whole Raj Mahaji cult thing, and the infamous Sheila that was his assistant. At one point, she was literally orchestrating an assassination attempt on a senator in, where were they? Washington State, I think, or Oregon.
Well, I would put forth the proposition that the average human being without children wants to live in a more anarchic place, right? In general, if you don't have children, you're okay with drugs being legal and it being legal to ride a motorcycle 100 miles an hour without a helmet, and legal gambling. Like, there's all kinds of freedoms that you're in favor of if you don't have children. On the other hand, most people that have children want to live in a society where those freedoms are restricted, because it's just obvious, right? If you have enough children, some of them are going to be born with no willpower. And if you have a child that has no willpower, and you happen to live in a society that allows motorcycles without helmets and fentanyl and gambling, like, eventually it's going to fuck up your children's lives. So even within the concept of, does a human being want to live in anarchy, or does a human being want to live in a highly restricted society, I think the same human being could want different things based on their life cycle mojo.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think, though, the anarchists that I've run into, especially the ones on this app, and there's a small handful of them, they seem to be comfortable with being oppressed. They just don't want to be oppressed by government. They'll let any other entity, in fact, they would erect a society that mimics a government, as long as they're just anti-government. They're not anti-oppression. They're not not even pro-freedom, really. What they're really looking for is just this, the elimination of government, and that seems to be, their calling card. That's what they're really begging for.
Well,
Hold on. I just got the laughy emoji from one of the anarchists on this app. Maybe she disagrees. If I was wrong, I'd love for her to come up here and tell me that I'm wrong, that she wants to be oppressed. I mean, the same person that gave me the laughy emoji that hates the state and says that she's an anarchist lives with an abusive boyfriend that doesn't allow her to speak on Clubhouse. If he's around, he tells her that she's got to get off. So we've all seen that. In fact, we were hoping to do wellness checks. She probably wouldn't appreciate the wellness check, because in order to do a wellness check, you'd have to call a government official to go do the wellness check. So, I don't know. Maybe she wants to come up, but Tomato, go ahead.
I think that it's hard for me to believe there's anyone that stupid. And the reason is anthropologists and evolutionary biologists have data on all societies before government. And the reality of being a human before government was, first of all, we have clear evidence that 20% of the men had sex with all the women. And in order for 20% of the men to have sex with all the women, they murdered a massive percentage of the weaker men. And you can see in the anthropological record, right, in societies before government, more than 40% of men died from murder. Whereas today, because of the benefit of government, less than 1% of men die from murder. We also have records that, like, civilization never existed without a government, because for the simple reason, like, why should you bother to build a machinery, or why should you bother to build a tool when, in the absence of government, some stronger man is just going to come and steal it from you and kill you? So, in the absence of government, life is nasty, brutish, and short. And for that reason, it seems like we have a lot of retarded morons on Clubhouse. It's hard for me to believe that there's anyone that's that retarded. I'm done speaking.
Could you name one of them?
No.
So I have to challenge that for a second, Tomato. It's possible, but I would think that 20% of the men, if we look back at our lineage, there would be such inbreeding depression, profound inbreeding depression, genetic bottlenecks, and also the heterogeneity that we see today with all these males who are pretty diverse. I would think we would be much more homogenous as a gender, and we're not. In fact, that's why we have so many problems today, because we're trying to accommodate the softness of all the male fragility, the domineering male, the toxic masculinity.
How about the narcissism? Does this play in at all?
Of course it does.
Can you just say the word, please?
Narcissism.
I think that's a record. That's a record, long as he said taking it to actually say it.
Yeah.
I love it. Let me ask you this. If you could snap your finger now, is there anybody on stage that would want the state to just be completely gone and have no government at all? Is there anyone on the stage that desires that?
Absolutely not. I have a question for Tomato, though. I can't get past what you said. If I can ask, or should I wait till we get more people?
Well, you could certainly offer up a question, but I wouldn't ask him. I would ask him.
No,
and I would ask Tomato. I wouldn't ask Tomato.
Oh, okay. I'll ask you, sir. Did you say that people without children want to live in an anarchist society, that they would prefer that over people who have children? I mean, before I continue, I just want to make sure I heard you.
Yeah, that I never understood, Tomato.
You heard correctly. I would absolutely benefit from that explanation if Tomato could.
Because I'd like to know why you think people who don't have children want to live in a lawless society where there's no law and order. Why would people who don't have children want other people's badass children coming through their neighborhoods, robbing, stealing their shit, shooting them, killing them to take their property? why? I just, maybe a little bit more clarity, please.
Sure, let me clarify. I never meant it to be a binary. I never meant it to say all people without children want to live in a lawless society. But all human beings are on a spectrum, right? And if you interview every human being about how much law and order they want, how much anarchy they want, what you will find is that childless people, and especially young childless people, want more anarchy. Now, they may not want 3 times the anarchy, but they want 5 or 10% more. Now, the issues in which you can see this are issues of A, should drugs be legalized, right? There's a very clear gap between the opinion on drugs about people with children and people that don't have children. But also you see it on issues like motorcycle helmet laws. You also see it on issues like drunk driving laws. In general, young people that don't have children are a little bit more desiring of anarchy. Now, even on Clubhouse, you can see it in the neighborhoods that people live in. So, for example, in New York City, for example, a neighborhood with a lot of anarchy, a lot of crazy, filthy shit going on is Bushwick. Well, if you go to Bushwick, you'll see it's mostly filled with people that don't have kids. On the other hand, a neighborhood where it's orderly and there's no crazy shit going on is Park Slope. So if you go to Park Slope, you'll notice it's a huge number of people with kids. So within even a city, you will find young childless people gravitating, moving when they can to the neighborhoods that are a little more sketchy and edgy and dicey and exciting, and people with kids moving to the more
I'll give you the tomato, the drugs. I'll meet you there. Okay. Parents intuitively share keep drugs away from my kids' schools, of my neighborhoods. DUIs. I'm gonna have to question mark there because I don't think that it's. I don't know if that means you're implying that married people or people with kids are less likely to drive intoxicated, because I don't think there's any truth there, or is it you just have this reckless, like, people without kids, they have less to lose, they don't have to go home and take care, bit diapers, no one's relying on them, they can live a little on the edge, even though we're in a world now with Uber. I think the DUI thing was, that, like, it's just, when you just throw that in as one of your laundry points, it gets blended in there a little bit. So I have to, that just stood out to me. I don't think there's data or to validate that folks people who don't have kids or are childless are more reckless, are less likely to care if some drunk driver just killed an innocent family.
Sounds like you agree with 80% of what I said, and you think I'm stupid about 20%. So I'll take that as a win. I'm not even going to argue the point.
Stupid was your word. I never.
Well, I use provocative, irritating words just for effect.
Interesting. Yeah, the DUI point in the motorcycle helmet, I never would have classed. I had to write a list of anarchist behavior. The motorcycle helmet point, I don't know that would be on the list. Dumb choices, perhaps, living on the edge, being reckless, but...
Well, no, I would say 4 years ago, Mojo and I used to get in polite disagreements. Very polite disagreements. Mojo, 4 years ago, to my recollection, was more of a classical libertarian. So Mojo, I recall, argued in favor of everyone who wants being allowed to ride a motorcycle without a helmet. And I don't criticize Mojo for having that view, but it was something that I remember pretty clearly him arguing for. And I argued strongly against that. And I puzzled over that for like 3 years of arguing. And then I kind of realized that Mojo was imagining like a young man with no responsibilities riding without a helmet. And I think he was saying, shit, if you're a young man and you have no responsibilities, you should have the freedom to ride without a helmet. Whereas for me, I was imagining a man with like 6 kids to support who was riding without a helmet, and by killing himself by riding without a helmet, he was leaving orphans. And so I think that Mojo and I's disagreement was not a philosophical disagreement. It was just a disagreement about who we imagine when
Yeah, I can dig it. I dig it.
Also, apparently, childless adults are six more times likely to not put the cap back on the toothpaste.
Yeah, that's why we need to have children to remind us to, always put on pants as well.
A lot of the political arguments I observe on Clubhouse they're not really political. They're arguments between people that have different life circumstances. Like let me cut to the chase. I see a lot of crazy shit being advocated by people on Clubhouse, and I just know, listening to them, they don't have kids and grandkids. And I'm not criticizing people that don't have kids. I'm just saying very often their brain just doesn't work the same way as people that have a lot of kids and grandkids.
Yeah, but what you're really saying is that when you have kids and grandkids, you become more risk adverse, and I think that's fair to point out. That being said, sometimes playing it safe is not the right way to go either. Some people are so risk adverse that they would bubble wrap their children, and I think that there's a risk in harming your children by being too risk adverse. Would you disagree?
No, I agree with you completely. But the issue on the table is society's rules. And I think in general that whether for right or wrong, the average person that has a bunch of kids wants to live in a society where the government does more and the government has more restrictions. So, for example, I think drunk driving, let me go back to the drunk driving point, even though it's unpopular, right? In general, most young childless people, if someone is caught drunk driving once, they'll give them a pass. They're like, okay, pay a fine and you get your license back. Even, I think if you survey people that are childless, they might give people 2 chances. Okay, you're caught drunk driving twice, take a class, pay a big fine. Whereas my experience is people that have young children, they're like, fuck it. If you're caught drunk driving once, fuck off, we're taking your license away for life, because the risk of you killing my kids is so great, I don't want to take the chance. So I actually do, at least among the people I socialize with in real life, I do notice a difference in the attitudes towards drunk driving between people with kids and people without kids. And you may say, oh, you're wrapping your kid in bubble wrap. To protect your kid from drunk drivers, you're wrapping him in bubble wrap. I don't see it that way. I think that there are reasonable things you can do to protect the lives of your kids. That people who have kids they just want a different government than people without. And I would say the government of Singapore is like a government designed by people that have a bunch of kids. The government of Singapore protects your kids a lot, whereas the government in New Hampshire may protect your kids very little. The government in New Hampshire, for all I know, it may allow more motorcycle riding without a helmet. It may allow more gambling. New Hampshire may even be softer on drunk drivers than Singapore.
So here's what I would do if I were king for a day. When it comes to drunk driving or intoxicated driving or whatever, I would simply, I wouldn't even necessarily outlaw it. I would simply say that if you get into an accident or if you harm somebody, the penalty should have a 10x multiplier. We should make the punishment for if a bad thing occurs while you're doing this behavior, that the punishment is larger. The one thing that's interesting, you can find these studies where they've compared drivers that are tired versus drivers that are drunk, and people that are intoxicated on alcohol can drive better than people that at a certain level of fatigue mentally. And so we don't have any laws, that clearly target people that drive tired, but there's a lot of people that do. Whether it's the end of their workday or the beginning of their workday, there's a lot of people that fall asleep at the wheel, and we don't hear anybody talking about that.
Roger, what about
people? Why would you think that talking now while I'm talking would be the right time for you to talk? How about wait till I finish, and then whoever that was, you can respond. Here's what I would propose is if you pull somebody over for a traffic violation and let's say you find that they're intoxicated, let's say they ran through a stoplight, because you could do that sober or drunk. I would just say whatever the penalty would have been when sober, I would 10x the penalty if they were drunk. if they harm somebody in an accident, whatever that penalty might have been if they were sober, including manslaughter, I would just 10x the sentencing for that. I think that if we just had really harsh punishments if something bad happens while you're intoxicated, I think what we would do is build a culture around people being a lot more careful, and if they choose to drink, which I think is perfectly okay, then they should take the the risk that comes along with that, which is a very harsh punishment if they do harm. But if somebody was driving home and they've had a few beers and they get home safely, I really don't care.
What about forcing people to have a certain level of insurance to cover the damage they do? Are you okay with that?
No, I don't think mandating insurance is the answer to anything.
Okay, so let's try to do this. I'm worth $1,000. You're worth $1 million. Okay, you have a grandchild.
I would say 4.5, but go ahead.
Okay, you're worth $4.5 million, right? Is that what you want to be worth?
Closer to reality. Let's go.
Okay, good. You're worth $4.5 million. That's great. And I'm worth $1,000, right?
You're worth more than that, but go ahead. You can value yourself wherever you like. Go ahead.
Well, it doesn't matter what I'm worth. Here's the point. I run over your grandchild and kill them or maim them for life. Okay? Now, you chose not to have insurance, and you fight me in court, and you don't pay it, and I end up being screwed. Is that okay with you?
I don't think I understand your point. Can you try to explain it a little bit better? I'm trying to understand. Make your point.
You're worth $4.5 million, right?
Sure.
And I sue you because you killed my grandchild, right? And the court system resists my ability to pay it off, and I die before the court gets it around to it, or your lawyers are better than my lawyers. Is that okay with you?
No, I don't think the justice system should be tied to how much money you have. In fact, I think that's one of the perversions that we have in our justice system is everything from cash bail to what type of representation you have in a court is far too highly tied to the amount of money you have. And I don't think that's a justice system.
Okay, let me see if I understand your point. And I don't mean to interrupt you because you're right. I don't want to interrupt you. But I find your position to be morally reprehensible, and it may be that I don't understand it. So maybe it isn't morally reprehensible. You don't think someone should be compelled to have insurance, right?
No, I do not.
Okay, and if I'm worth,
although I think it's a good idea. I do think it's a good idea. I just don't think it should be mandatory.
Okay.
I would advise family and friends to have insurance because it's a good idea, it's wise, but I don't think it should be made mandatory now.
Okay, let's try inverting this now. I'm worth $1,000, and I run over your child. You're worth $4 million. You sue me. The worst you can get is very small amount. Is that okay with you?
I don't think if I lost a child, I'd be thinking about money. What I would be thinking about is the justice system. If you took a life, then you should be punished for it. And so
you would rather see me go to jail or be hung or be executed in a.
I don't believe in the death penalty, but I would be perfectly fine with you spending the rest of your life in jail.
Because I ran over your child while drunk and I was only worth $1,000.
Even if you were worth $1 million, I'm perfectly okay with you going to jail for the rest of your life for killing somebody.
Thank you for making your point clear. Thank you for making your point clear.
So I have a question for Tomato. This parental prudence that you speak of, let's look at climate change. Let's forget that it could be anthropogenic and assume it's biogenic or geogenic, so how come, there are so few parents, that parents base their belief of climate change and interest in climate change mitigation on what side of the aisle they stand, right? Like, to me, that's the biggest thing that we can be preemptive and preventive about, or at least mitigate to some degree, but we don't. So I'm just curious because, I mean, I've been curious about it for a long time. I think that, climate change, whether it's human induced or natural or geologically sourced, because of, various environmental pressures, the forecast does not look good. So why are people with kids not much more concerned about climate change?
Well, since you directed that question to me, I will answer you succinctly. But before I do, if you click on the link in the room chat, the precise point of fact that I made before that you claimed couldn't possibly be true, I have a link that proves it indeed to be true. Within the absence of government, the top 1 out of 17 men reproduced, and the other 16 men didn't reproduce. So it's in the anthropological record that indeed, without government, the top tier strongest men got to monopolize 17 females and 16 men were left out. So doctor, I don't expect you to read that now, but can you commit to reading that at some point in the next hour?
Absolutely, I appreciate it. I find it fascinating, and I appreciate you sharing. I also
okay, so let me answer you about climate change.
Okay.
I believe that most people in life are not logical. They don't think things through logically. Most people are tribal. They just identify what tribe they want to be in, and they mindlessly parrot the belief to their tribe. And so for that reason, you're correct, all liberals and leftists mindlessly just say they believe in climate change and they demand that we have to make changes in the economy to prevent climate change. Now, they're not evil. All the leftists who believe in climate change, they're not stupid. They're not evil. They're just shutting off their brains and being tribal. Okay. On the other hand, the MAGA people also don't think about climate change. They just mindlessly parrot the opposite view. But I'm peculiar. I believe in using my brain on every issue. That's why I think the MAGAs are retarded about many issues, and the leftists in this room are retarded about many issues. If you talk to me long enough, it's guaranteed you will hate me because my study of the issues doesn't agree with either tribe. So now that you brought up climate change, I'll answer you. Even if all the leftists are correct that humans burning coal and shit like that is causing climate change, and even if all the leftists get their way and America shuts down a bunch of industries and we lower our standard of living and instead of eating meat, we eat bugs, it still doesn't matter. The climate is still going to change for the simple reason that if you actually look at carbon emissions are growing so rapidly from India and China that even if the United States and Europe does the crazy leftist shit and shuts off our industry and lives a poor life, the planet is still totally fucked because China and India continue to emit. Therefore, you're like a religious person who's like giving up meat for religious reasons. Like you are so eager, doctor, you're so eager to sacrifice the lifestyle of Americans because it makes you feel warm and helpful. But even if you're right about the science, even if you're 100% right on the science, the world is still fucked no matter what standard of living Americans have, because people in India and China are causing all of the increase in emissions. Therefore, your desire to cut our standard of living to help the climate, it's a nice religious tribal thing that makes you feel warm and fuzzy, but it doesn't do jack shit for the environment, even if you're correct.
Well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate that. I don't have nearly the passion you think that I do for it. I really don't care that much. But my point more is to the fact that let's just say that we have some control and we are contributing more than, say, East Asian, South Asian countries, right? The point is that people aren't making that a priority. Forget about where it's really sourced and what contribution they can have. In the mindset of people, let's just say, no one seems terribly worried about the floods in Texas, the fires in LA, the longer hurricane season, the longer fire season. I'm not terribly upset about it, frankly. I don't have kids.
I really don't care that much, and I was in the environmental science space in addition to biomedical, and I absolutely don't care that much. And as you know, I'm in a completely different field now. All I'm saying is that logically, the rationale for these parents should be, hey, you know, I'd be pretty worried about, what's happening with the climate, whether I can do anything about it or not. And that's really the only point that I want to make.
Well, I think maybe parents are smart enough to realize that nothing that is done by Americans has any impact on the climate. So it's 100% logical for parents to think about it. I think if you were a parent, I know you live in a part of America, I'm not going to dox you, I know you live in a part of America where woke leftist crazies kind of control the public school system. And if you were a parent, I bet that you would be very focused on saving your children and grandchildren from public schools that teach them to cut off their penises, because cutting off the penis is the trendy thing among all the celebrities that live near you. Now, if you think I'm exaggerating, I'm happy to hear it. If you had children, I bet that protecting them from being taught to become trans in school or being taught other insane, dangerous shit is important. And then finally, something that's not political at all, I bet if you had children, you would focus at least half your time on trying to persuade them not to take fentanyl, because the number one killer of fentanyl near you the number one killer of children in your neighborhood is fentanyl. So I think that the climate change is a nice tribal, religious, theoretical thing, but if you actually had kids, I think you'd be focused on more practical things. I'm done speaking.
You know who's the number one mule importer from Mexico for fentanyl? Americans, contrary to popular belief. It's not the immigrants.
Well, you realize that the creation of the cartel and the street gangs that sell this stuff on the street are both products of the war on drugs that's been going on since 1971. So until somebody wants to talk about the war on drugs in a meaningful way, I think both parties are complicit in the drug trade and the propping up of both street gangs and cartels.
Well, and also, actually, speak of the devil, on August 11th, the book is coming out. It was reviewed in Rolling Stone about special ops units at Fort Bragg, essentially the Delta Force members, Green Beret Station in Texas, elsewhere, are implicated in facilitating a lot of cartel operations across the border, and it's kind of fascinating. So that's a whole nother thing. I'd love to do. I haven't done a room in years, but I'd love to do one on that because it's such a fascinating topic. But
let me ask you a question, Dr. Jordan. Do you think if somebody that chose to use cocaine or heroin could go into a dispensary where packaging was clearly labeled that their product was fentanyl free, do you think that the average drug user would opt to buy that versus rolling the dice with purchasing fentanyl in laced products?
I doubt it. I think when you're an addict, you're gonna roll the dice.
Well, that's assuming that you believe that that they enjoy rolling the dice. Maybe, just maybe, we should take into consideration that the addict, they want the drug of choice. Maybe they want the high from cocaine. Maybe they want the high from heroin, without the risk of killing themselves with fentanyl. Now, I agree that if they didn't find the fentanyl-free variety, that evidence shows that they are willing to roll the dice with those drugs, because what you're comparing it to is not getting high versus getting high with the high risk of death. I think that you would actually, if you were to legalize these narcotics, and sell them in dispensaries. At very least, what you're going to do is reduce the violence in this country that's associated with people killing each other for selling drugs in a rival territory. You would then have businesses that could sue each other. You could have the right to have a storefront, and if you had a dispute, you could take it to the police and go into a courtroom. When you make something illegal, you, by definition, you're putting it on the black market, and in the black market, they're going to find their own ways of policing it. So, I think the people that, if you really wanted to reduce fentanyl death, the best thing that you could do would be to legalize drugs, make it safe, and tax it.
Yeah, no, I misunderstood. I was kind of making the assumption that the fentanyl free would be more expensive, not cost prohibitive, more expensive, and in greater demand. And the point I was trying to make, and it was based on my erroneous assumption, is that the fentanyl, the user, the addict, is so desperate in need of a high that they're going to take what's available, even though they know that it, might be dangerous. Not that they're innately risk-taking.
It's really
When they have a compromise where Roger gets exactly what he wants in 3 states, and the rest of America stays
I don't even need 3 states. I need one location. We could call it Barstow, California, and we could turn that into a drug emporium and oasis for addicts. And then out on the borders of Barstow, we could build rehab centers and a place to get reacclimated if you choose to get off of the substance of choice. I think that would be the perfect setup. Is Barstow becomes the drug-free zone, or the drug zone, and then you have a buffer where we have care facilities surrounding Barstow. And then if you want to get back into polite society, you have to go through your detox in one of these facilities. But I think that's where we should put them. And if somebody's caught high on one of these narcotics, they get shipped to Barstow.
I'm 1,000% supportive. Not only would I vote for that, I would donate to a candidate who actually wants that. I think very, very strongly, if someone is caught taking fentanyl anywhere in America, I don't think they should be punished. I think they should just be exiled to Barstow and have a segregation, right? Have a big part of America where people can take as many drugs as they want, and then have the rest of America be drug-free. Who could argue with that?
They prescribe fentanyl patches, right?
Hospitals use them every day, correct? But obviously they're not using them at the lethal levels that addicts are.
Right.
Yeah, are you familiar with what a lethal dose looks like of fentanyl?
I have no idea. I heard it's very little.
It's very little. The images is very illuminating, which is what makes it so fucking dangerous. I'd be interested in hearing from any of the anarchists in the room of what they think of turning Barstow into basically a Disneyland for addicts. I would love to understand what the anarchists think of this idea.
Well,
Abby, let me tell you, Barstow is a shithole, and it's interesting because if you go through Barstow, they have old train cars that have been turned into Subway, McDonald's. It's a fascinating fucking place. It's the closest thing that the United States has to Mad Max, and it's a very interesting place to be. I think it's a perfect place for this Disneyland for addicts.
I'm with you on the 10 times, whatever the charge is for one. Essentially, amplifying the DUI charge for anyone doing harm. I think it's the legal. I think it's GB, great bodily injury. They factor that into and send the thing. I just read about a recruit somewhere who graduated from the police academy less than 48 hours while celebrating, chooses to drive allegedly intoxicated, going so fast at like 2 a.m, flying through a very slow road. The only car on the road was, you can see, ever had a fucking red light. And if not that red light, this family's life has changed forever. He hit that minivan so hard that it shot into the forest, shoved it into one of those like steel street, like concrete lamppost that minivan bent like a toothbrush. They had to do 6-7 hours of emergency surgery to save the mother, I heard. I mean, it's all over the story. Last I heard, best shot, she's looking at paralyzed for life because this guy wouldn't take, or this person wouldn't take an Uber. A cop that just graduated the police academy.
Messi, how do you think certain religions would do in an anarchist society? Do you think there would be compatibility between? Oh, you cutting back in? Sorry.
Depends on if that religion is authoritarian.
Well, what do you think would happen if the proponents of Sharia law were to show up in an anarchist society? I'd love to understand. Bima, is an interesting one. She advocates for the good folks of Hamas is who she advocates for, and but yet she calls herself an anarchist. I wonder what would happen in an anarchist society where terrorist groups like Hamas that built a religion around a pedophile and will kill non-believers. I wonder what Bima would think of this religion. I'm sure it's the religion of peace for her.
No woman, no child would be safe in that society.
Well, the thing is you would have people that want to behead people, and you would have no authority to do anything because of the beheading.
Yeah, rapes and beheading, a plethora, no doubt about it.
Yeah, although one thing I would challenge Mojo is that do you think that Islam is because the reason why Palestinians why they do what they do, or is it just something they use as? Well,
I think any time that you're crazy enough to submit to a religion whose perfect idea of a man is a pedophile that married a 6-year-old girl and fucked her when she was 9, and beheads people that don't want to convert to their religion. I think that if you subscribe to those things, it probably makes it easier for people of that belief system to dehumanize other people in a civilized society, which certainly could lead them to an easier decision to go and rape and murder civilians as well as take hostages. It doesn't seem like there's much morality baked into their religion whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I push back is because even though I do think, as much as I disagree with Islam, I personally think that you would still have people who would still believe that they're being oppressed, that would feel the need to elect a group like Hamas, even if Islam never existed, because that's why I've always said if even if religion did not exist, in a world where religion did not exist, conservatives and liberals would still exist. So, and you probably would still have something like Hamas, just without Islam.
Welcome, Marshall. Marshall, what do you think of anarchy?
I think Madison had a great idea. If men were angels, there would be no need for government. If men are fucking angels, there's always a need for government.
If men were what?
Also, if men were angels, there would be no need for government. Men are not angels, so there's a need for government. Out of 10 people, you can maybe get 9 to do the right thing. One person's always going to choose to do the stupid or malicious thing. It just is what it is. And so a society that operated on anarchy just simply wouldn't work. Because men's evils would end up driving it into a despotic, tyrannical place. Because in an anarchical world, the person with the biggest stick wins. So it's going to be a monopoly of violence preceded by a very short time of essentially no rules. The idea that you could stay as this like anarchical foundation is a myth, a fairy tale. It's a utopia. It premises that human beings working away human beings don't work. Because nothing in 10,000 years of human history, since the settlement of the city Ur in Iraq, that shows you life without government or like a larger steering hand is not chaotic and despotic and tyrannical. And the only thing anarchy would do would be to provide chaotic space for a strong, tyrannical person or style of government to take hold, because people don't like chaos. When they can't get their basic needs met, when they cannot move up in the world, and the institutions don't help, the idea is to dump them over. But that then forms into something. So shortly, anarchy is a utopian fantasy.
Well, that's true. There's a lot of good points, and I'll say the one thing that stood out, you said, Marshall, I said it before, I'll say it again. Take away the people's basic needs. Forget not January 6th, not BLM, not like which side of the aisle you're on. Take away your basic needs, aka Uber and Netflix, you will see anarchy.
Yeah, that sounds like dreaded circuses from one of the Roman emperors. Very, very Romanesque moves.
It's actually a new joke on my list I'm trying out, but putting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think about just last night, the power was out, and I felt like completely like going out and, driving off the cliff because there was no electricity. So that there's nothing could be more true than that.
Absolutely. Your Wi-Fi goes down for like more than 20 minutes. You contemplate things. I mean, you just like, it's how did they do this? How do we do this in the 80s, not even 100 years ago?
Look at societies that have periods of anarchy. It just comes to the person with the strongest stick. The thing I genuinely hate about utopian thinking is that it imagines human beings today are any different in motivation from human beings 7,000 years ago. The basic motivations of humans are all the same. Love, hate, jealousy, greed, covetousness, all of those things are basic human emotions. And so the idea that we're somehow special, we're somehow extra blessed in 2025 is hoping for the future in a utopian, unicorn and fairy tales fantasy.
Okay.
Again,
pause right there. Pause right there. We do have a new poll up, and I'd love to get full participation from everyone on the new poll that we have posted above. Thank you. El Normo's here, the person that I voted for president. We definitely need his opinion on the poll that we have up. El Normo, which do you prefer? bigger government, smaller government, no government, or sorry, I need to edit the change. I don't know why it auto-corrected. Sorry, but answer the poll, please.
I'm in favor of minimal government, but government that serves our needs and our interests.
What do you, when you say
how do you define minimal government?
Yeah, what's okay, so let me just start and then you tell me what you would add to this. I want a military, I want police, and I want courts at a federal level, and then I want states to decide what they might need additional to that, and localities to decide what they might need additional to that. But at the federal level, military, police, and courts. What do you think I'm missing?
Well, I mean, aren't highways handled on the federal level and stuff like regulation of transportation, aviation, shipping lanes? I think the Romans figured out that that's best handled at the macro level.
Well, the shipping lanes, I think, is something that we would agree that the government would deem that the military handles. The Barbary Pirates, for example, is something. It's why we created a navy, for fuck's sake.
Right. But I mean, even internal, like down the Mississippi River and so forth. I'm just saying, commonly shared resources need federal regulation, I think. Otherwise, people are going to fight about them. Highways, waterways, airways, right? And then I'm going to build in that I always think we need to make sure that the least among us are provided for. Hopefully they don't need to use it, but it should be there. I believe in safety nets.
Well, so the least among us, why is that a federal government's job to fix that problem? Do you think that there might be other ways of helping the least among us?
There might be, but I think this is a universal value, and I think government should reflect our values. So
we have social safety nets currently. In fact, 2/3 of the spending that this country has are spent on these social safety nets. How much more do you think we should spend of the budget on those social safety nets? Because right now we're doing it your way, and it doesn't seem to be working.
I think it's helping a lot of people. I don't know if working for you is perfect, but I think the people who are caught by these nets, I think they're very grateful and happy. And I think they deserve it, and I think that, frankly, the society, I couldn't say that, the society has sufficient resources to do that. I think it's a good thing. It's charity. Charity's important in life.
Did you remove the poll? It disappeared.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wanted to comment. Government big enough to give you everything that you have can take it all away as well.
Is that from a fortune cookie or something?
No, that was Barry Goldwater.
That sounds worse.
Yeah, your poll disappeared, Roger.
All of you guys are wrong. We need a strong government, strong central government, no local governments. Local governments are the issue. A lot of the problems caused in this country today.
I want to know what John thinks. John, are you there?
Hold on. We just heard from a troll. Eric, you're one of those chillisms, right? You're a chillism hostage?
No. I'm my own person.
You're not a hostage?
He's a mod in there.
Oh, okay. So you're the one holding the retards hostage in there.
No, I don't have that much power.
Interesting. How does it feel to mod a room that's known across this app as having the stupidest people quite literally the lowest IQ average, which is hard to do considering Io goes into that room and he's got the highest IQ. In fact, I would say Io has a higher IQ than the rest of the people in that in that house combined.
Probably, you might be right. Yeah, the room is dominated now, per se, with lower end people, but it did start out like that.
Why do you guys let people like Concrete and Ike drone on about dumb shit that they don't know anything about?
Like I said, I don't have that much power. If it was up to me, they would have been kicked out.
Well, that's fine. All right. Well, you sound reasonable. I was in there and heard those two arguing for 45 minutes about who understood Hegelian dialect better, and they were again 45 minutes they were arguing about this. And I got up on the stage and I challenged them, and within about 5 minutes, they both acknowledged that neither had even read Hegel, and that was what passed for a conversation in that room. It was very, very interesting. You should try to get control of it. Tally's pretty good, and I don't know if I've ever spoken to you before directly, but you seem reasonable if you agree that those guys are retarded. So you guys should get your hands around it.
Concrete especially cosplays as somebody of high level intelligence.
Yes, he does. Eric, you do, to echo Mojo's sentiment, you do sound reasonable. I've been in those rooms. It's one of those things where I'm like, all right, it's like a really bad car accident. I try to check my tolerance levels, how long I can actually stay in there. Like, there's bottom of the barrel. Some of those discussions are about 1,000 feet beneath that said bottom.
Wait, Roger, you'd say Talking Apes is higher than chillism?
I would say it depends on the day.
Well, if you like Talia, then you'd like Eric, because Eric and Talia have a little thing.
Yeah, so Eric, I just would like to know which system do you think doesn't get enough funding from the government?
My bad, I was eating some food. Ask the question again.
Yeah, my question is which program in the government do you think is not funded enough?
Social programs, mainly like welfare, education, stuff like that.
All right, we have a new poll, everyone.
Bro, I can't believe you didn't add Talking Apes. Have you not been on there?
Is that fucking what's his face?
Jeremy, yeah. Canadian Jeremy.
I used to get YouTube views.
Oh, that's nice. See, one's a communist and one's not.
All right, we got to get some more votes going on here.
Wait, is politically correct full of liberals arguing about being weird liberals?
I think that's the one with that woman Sin that claimed to have a nonprofit. And when I said, "Yeah, I don't believe you," and then she said, "I don't give a shit what you believe," and I go, "Tell you what, if you post a link to it, I'll donate $500." And instead of posting it, she removed me from the room. She doesn't really have a good sense for fundraising, I suppose. Among the stupidest people that I've met on the app.
Oh wait, Abby said it's the one with Dr. Goddess. Damn it. Dr. Goddess came to my room today and we actually got along quite well. So no shade to Dr. Goddess, but
I got a lot of shade for Dr. Goddess. She's if this app is full of pseudo intellectuals, she's the anti-intellectual. I think she's borderline retarded.
You know, it's crazy, Roger, because, I mean, is this the political bimbo crew?
Yeah.
Got it.
Where you've got like a 7.5 Patty looks okay. You know, like at least.
Well, I'm not going to call anybody out by name, Roger.
Why not?
You know, I'm going to respect your space. You know, I'm not going to call anybody out by name. But I will say that I'm looking, you know, with one eyebrow left, you know, kind of turned up, you know, any pro-black person with a blonde wig on. Right? You know, I mean, how are you going to be pro-black and you're sitting there rocking, you know, instead of the Beyonce, which, again, you know, Beyonce is very questionable. We'll get to that in a minute. But, I mean, how are you so pro-black and you're rocking a whole Farrah Fawcett? Like, you're not rocking a Pam Grier, right? You know, pro-black, you know, shout out to the band, you know, the Black Panthers. You know, you're rocking a whole Farrah Fawcett, right? You're rocking a whole Farrah Fawcett, looking like one of the Real Housewives of Orange County. So, you know, it's very crazy to me how these pro-black people want to show up in a blonde wig.
Real Housewives of No County is more like it. I agree, Adams.
All right.
I think
Isn't that crazy, funny. Roger? You know, cultural misappropriation, reparations. You know, I mean, should white people be paid reparations every time a black person wears a blonde wig?
Especially if they're wearing the blonde wig and Lululemon.
Right. Thank you.
And if they're carrying one of those stupid-ass dolls, Adams, what's the name of these dolls that they're so popular on?
Yo, I feel like they should be paying Armenians, right, reparations for the bust down, right? Because you know the bust down came from Cher. So at the end of the day, Armenians should be paid reparations as well.
Nah, you know, you follow media like celebrity. Do you hear about that?
I mean, I'm not even going to get into Kim K that, you know, changed the whole beauty standard.
Nah, did you hear about that paranormal guy who had that mysterious haunted doll and suddenly died and was found dead with the doll who died suddenly?
Moose, I've been obsessed with this story for weeks, and I've been tracking the follow-up. They claim the doll went missing after he died, mysteriously / natural causes, and the Annabelle doll was nowhere to be found, allegedly. That bitch was on the run. They finally found the Annabelle doll, allegedly. Some comedian, I just had his name, Mike Riff, that could be wrong. He is now, according to Twitter, the new proud owner of the Annabelle doll, and he purchased Ed and Lorraine Warren, I believe is their name, the Conjuring couple. He purchased their museum, their house that housed the doll, according to Twitter today. So I've been following this story for weeks. It's been the most fascinating story to me in pop culture in the past month. Absolutely.
You know, to me, as of late, as I've been getting attacked on this app, you know, for not embracing black culture, you know, it's crazy to me. The bust down, did that not come from Cher and Marsha Brady? Right? Cher and Marsha Brady.
Adams, I didn't know it was called the bust down. Let me Google.
I mean, it's called the bust down. That's what I'm saying, the full Naomi Campbell. So again, if you want to give a representation of black women that were wearing that hairstyle, you know, very European-centric, you know, you have a lot of the hottest people in black culture talking about pro-black and, you know, we should free Diddy. It was crazy. Listening to Diddy's mom with a full freaking, like a fake, like, it was crazy. Like, it was crazy. A whole freaking blonde freaking wig on. Like, what are we doing? So it's crazy to me how people want to claim so pro-blackness and appropriating culture and all this other bullshit. Reparations. Like, what the fuck are we doing? I've never seen the black community so fucking lost with an identity crisis. It's not even, it's crazy.
Adams, I blame Beyonce, I blame Mary J. Blige, I blame...
Oh, you mean the same Beyonce that wanted to say, oh, you need to vote for this black woman. You need to vote for this black woman. Pro-black Beyonce, right? So she threw on that dusty-ass fucking wig, and then when the second that she left the DNC stage, she went and posed in a blonde fucking wig pretending to be Pamela Anderson. Let's stop it.
Adams, I got a question. Who's the artist that sung the song about eating her booty like groceries?
Who's that?
Sukihana, though.
I just say this. That's a vulgar line. It's a very vulgar line. But I don't think that's a thing that really is happening. Because I think the people that she's singing to, unless she's singing to the white community, because black men don't even eat pussy. There's no way they're going to eat her booty.
Wait. Okay. What?
Is this breaking news?
Wait, what? Okay.
No, it's not breaking news. Eazy-E said it best. He said, "I may be a woman beater, but I'm not a pussy eater." And after he said that, a whole generation of black men stopped eating pussy.
But wait a minute. Didn't he die of AIDS?
Child, baby, bye. Okay.
Hold on. Like, what's going on? By the way, Roger, I'm walking right by 7th Vale Strip Club. I'm going to take a picture of this and PTR it just so you can revel in that.
Nice.
Is there a line around the block?
There's a line around the block at Mojo's door once they found out
No.
who does eat pussy.
The line's at Deja Vu. You know, they have 1,000 ugly women and 3 pretty ones.
Yeah. I went there on a Tuesday afternoon, and it might have been the ugliest women I've ever seen naked.
Yeah, they're not sending out their top guns like most strip clubs at those hours. Those are not peak hours.
Well, the supermarket lighting isn't doing them any favors either.
So now it sounds like you've maybe had a different experience. Do you not know this trend amongst black men that?
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. I have never heard this before in my life.
You never heard Eazy-E say he may be a woman beater, but he's not a pussy eater?
Well, I'm going to lean into what Adam said. That allegedly he had HIV, allegedly he was sucking, he was slobbing on the knob and gargling that gravy, so I don't know.
No, he didn't have HIV, he died of AIDS.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that's just what it is. Sealed up medical coroner report, like, he died of AIDS. So, at the end of the day, looking at the context of that time, how much are you going to take that information as you are, Roger? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think Eazy-E's credible. Him, Trey. I mean, they probably were, getting it in with some women, but they like the tranny girls too. They like the chicks with dicks, allegedly. So.
Roger. Oh, sorry, Nye.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Roger, can I ask a favor, or any of the mods?
No, but you can ask a favor.
Okay, I'll ask. A person I know who's a professor and claims to be and identifies as progressive, but is now hating on progressives, and she's quite influential with 4 degrees from Harvard. She wrote something in their Substack today and published it. And I was wondering if you would be willing to put it up at the top, considering it's in alignment with your antipathy and rightfully endorsed antipathy toward progressives. But
yeah, let's get it up there.
Now the caveat is she's now a client of mine, so I do probably benefit from exposure, but it's a free Substack. So I want.
Okay.
All right.
This isn't Dr. Natalie, is it?
No, it's Dr. Hillary Anger Elfenbein, who I think you would really hit it off with. I'm going to try and ask her to come on to Clubhouse because she says now that being Jewish, it's impossible to be a progressive because she's hated by her progressive friends, essentially. So, anyways, I thought you might like to read it.
I'd love to read it. Let's bring it. Oh wow, E-Master's back.
How should I send it to you? It's in the link in the chat.
Let me see. I'll snap it.
Mojo, have you ever heard of Rob Smith?
From The Cure or one of those faggoty bands?
No.
Yes, The Cure.
No. So Rob Smith, he's like a younger, conservative, black Republican veteran.
He's also the lead singer for The Cure, Robbie Smith.
No, he's definitely not. I don't think he's old enough. It's crazy.
No, I mean, same name. It's the same name, not this person. Same name, Robert Smith.
Yeah, so he was a black conservative where when the Ebony Festival happened and you know, a lot of people were opening up rooms about the Ebony Festival. Oh my God, fake outrage, fake outrage, fake outrage. And again, he's always on like Libba TikTok and like, you know, he is very pro MAGA and like, you know, he's a really cool guy. But it was crazy because I'm testing this theory where when somebody has a room that's opened up about them, I'm testing how can I actually get them to respond to my Instagram. And there was a whole entire room that was opened up about him on Clubhouse, and him and I were kind of like texting in the back channels, and I was just like, dude, you need to make an account and come on Clubhouse. You know, a lot of these people that have a lot of things to say about, like, you know, this election cycle, and like a lot of these influencers, like, you should definitely come on Clubhouse and come into healthy debates.
Here's the way that we used to get people back in the heyday of Clubhouse. There's a lot of people that didn't want to download something, right? That was a big turnoff for people. In fact, there was some sitting congressmen that would have come, but they just didn't want to download the app. And you can talk to Justin Higgins about that when he was getting like a really important audience on his stages. That was the biggest objection they had. The other thing is the word is kind of out now that Clubhouse can be toxic. It was easier once upon a time to encourage people to get on this app and to participate in rooms, because if you give them like a clip of something, you say, hey, there's an idea, this is kind of like the idea of what we do on these stages. Love to have you there, and then you can. Sometimes what they'll want. I don't know if you guys remember back in the day when we used to bring people on as guests. It would just be me and then the person that I would bring on, and then I would ask them a few questions. Then I would say, okay, I'm going to bring people up, and they could ask questions. I think probably the biggest example of that would have been Dave Smith, comedian and wannabe politician. When he came on, he basically just asked a few questions, and we brought people up, and mostly his haters came up, but some people that were his fans. I've lost that fucking replay, for fuck's sake, because that old account, but that was a really good one. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was probably the last. That's probably the last big room that we did on Healthy Debates. Was for Dave Smith. I don't think you're going to get them to a point. I think the word's out that Clubhouse is toxic. And it's not toxic because of me. It's toxic because of people like Jones.
I mean, he's open to it. Like, it's kind of one of those things, like, screenshot the back channels. Like, he's definitely open to it. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, is it going to be a divisive topic where it's worth his time to be able to come onto the space? You know what I mean? People talk about the same shit every fucking day. You know what I mean? Like, there's no variety. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that's going to attract anybody where it's just like, okay, you know, I side and I resonate with a certain type of ideology, but let's have a very different perspective conversation as far as things that are pertinent to that said ideology.
Do you remember when we used to get David Friedman and Patrick to come on here, the son and grandson of Milton Friedman? Do you remember those rooms?
No. I remember the rooms where Ben Carson's son was on the app for a minute.
Yeah, he was. So David Friedman and Patrick Friedman. Patrick used to be on a lot more. When they would get on here and talk about, their family and whatnot. And Rose, the mom, Milton Friedman's wife,
They swear that she's like the most brilliant person that they had in their family, which she's actually got a book that she wrote that I want to go read. I haven't done that yet.
Hey Roger, it's Dr. Mitch. On one of the science rooms, we had a few Nobel Nobel Science winners. Actually used to come to the room in the heyday. When you were blowing Clubhouse up with, 20,000 followers, there were a lot of prominent people who come in here. And then when they changed the app, more or less killed it. So now they're asking for subscription money, but back then when you could do a room and 2,000 people would show up, all they wanted to do was kind of smash it.
I mean, I feel like if I talk about big backs enough and post it on Instagram, Julian Michaels will come on.
I don't know if it's interesting for somebody, prominent to come to speak in front of like 25 people. It's like, and I don't know how well Twitter Spaces is doing or the other, the other chat thing that was set up.
I mean, Amber Rose was on here, Trick Daddy, who else? Wiz Khalifa was on here for a minute. Who was that one? Joe Budden was on here. I mean, there's definitely some people who are lingering around.
Well, the reason, it's still a good platform that you can bring a few people in, record. It's like any platform. Even the savvy influencers, like say a Dr. Drew, knew in the very beginning that he needed to use whether you like him or not, he needed to use multimedia and multi-stream his programs. And so he knew that Clubhouse was either going to come or go, but you could bring in a few people and still kind of record it somewhere else. So I think that if you can get anyone on here in a small curated room and record it, and then you can upload it somewhere else, then it's worth the time. But if someone's not going to record it, I don't see the benefit.
There was a room where Robbie Schwab and Nick Gillespie of Reason Magazine, they used to come to the room actually fairly frequently, but there was one night where they got on the stage because we were talking about libertarianism and because they wrote for Reason Magazine. And what was interesting is how disagreeable they were with Clubhouse libertarians, because libertarians these days try to be more radical than the next and adopt this persona of being an anarchist, and they shoot that shit down better than I do. It was pretty cool. I don't know if you guys remember back when Liberty Clubhouse was pretty big, but all the anarchists got shit on by Nick Gillespie, and that was one of my favorite rooms.
Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla were a great team.
Yeah, they had really good chemistry. I was just talking to someone who used to work closely with Dr. Drew, and we're talking about, his marketing savvy or his team's marketing savvy.
Well, Drew can be, very medical and doctor-like, and Carolla made it funny so that people would listen.
Yeah, this is the thing, is that there's if you pair with someone who's not credentialed, you also soften any stigma. It's kind of like there's an agent in Hollywood, a friend of mine who passed away, John Ferreter, who was really a sharp guy. He taught me a lot about life. He probably gave me some free therapy, even though he's not a clinician. But he would say that, and this isn't original to him, but the kinds of things he might talk about would be like, make sure this
this person is not too attractive that they're gonna scare off audiences. And you have to know your market. I mean, that's not something so insightful that he said, but it made me think of it that he had mentioned that once to me when I was suggesting some talent for him, and he's like, no, that person's just gonna scare away half of the housewives in America. You know, you have to be able to really know your audience. The credentials don't matter as much as making people feel less insecure or less threatened by whoever's hosting the show. I mean, I actually think that works in the news business. Fox uses it to their advantage, catering to a demographic of men. CNN has gone the other direction. I think lookism operates within the confines of a Fox, but you know, if you're remotely attractive, you may not get the job at CNN.
So in other words, it's narcissism.
Yes.
Platformed me, deleted my profile because I was live streaming the room on Clownhouse back into Chatter. Thought I was being creative, but apparently the 3 people or 10 people that use it, they don't like creative people using their creator platform.
Well, I can't even get on Chatter.
Nelson,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Listen, I'll say quick, Nelson was here for about an hour and explaining people were upset. Some woman named Bella, she'd been deplatformed, and Nelson, I don't know why he felt the need to explain it. And the minorities in the room were good for about 10 minutes, and then it became this free-for-all, thugism, just the most vile stuff I've ever heard. I mean, just angry with Nelson that he was actually successful and associated with white people. I'm not making this up, and it's crazy. It's crazy to listen to what's going on over there.
So I was in this room yesterday, I think it was Mojo's room, and all of a sudden I kept getting these pings.
Yes.
From folks who are considered the dark side over here, but they navigated over to Chatter. And every one of them was pinging me in the room, because apparently most of them got banned off Chatter, which was surprising. So I was giving you laughing emojis, Dave, because I'm like, I can only imagine what that was like. Whatever you know.
I respect Nelson for what he's done, you know, in his personal life and how successful he is as a builder of ultimately quality products. But it's so crazy to hear someone like him torn down, and it wasn't just you're a bad person. I mean,
pathogens is a real threat, even in the wildlife conservation arenas. So I was programmed for that stuff far before COVID. So that would be my excuse.
You know, going back to the title of the room, I would say that COVID-19 and that whole 3-year run was an exercise in what I would call anarchy.
I agree, and I believe we were attacked by that virus, by the makers of it, as if we were attacked physically by bombs or in a war. And I think we haven't seen the full.
Who made it?
Who made it? The lab in China.
See, David, I think you got it backwards there. It's not the Wuhan lab that was the attack. It was the Pfizer, Moderna, J&J vaccine that was the attack. That's my opinion.
No, that's wrong. The attack came from Wuhan. Whatever you think about it. First of all, that should never have been called a vaccine. That's the first wrong thing about it. It never was a vaccine.
I'm just wondering, David, if you can actually repeat back to me what I just said.
I'm not your puppet.
Okay, well then I rest my case. You made my case, by saying exactly what you're saying. I think, you're actually a victim here of propaganda, and unfortunately, you can't recognize it.
Yeah. I know propaganda when I see it. Heard it from you. What, 6 years now? 5 years? Dr. Delusion.
Okay, I mean, do you want me to post the links about what J&J recently disclosed within the past month? Do you want me to post a dozen other links to show you that what you're saying is completely opposite truth?
Okay, so relax.
I am relaxed. I'm just asking a question.
It's over. It's done. J&J was never a good vaccine to begin with. They didn't even make their own vaccine. That was a live virus.
What do you think's going to happen the next time there's a pandemic?
Wait, did you say pandemic?
Nope, I said pandemic. I'm not a weirdo.
It starts with an A and it ends with a Y. That spells, come on, everybody, anarchy.
They'll just set up another booth in Costco and have you bring your babies and stick them full of shit.
It's Bemis wet dream.
Well, RFK Jr.'s in charge. It'll be interesting.
I think that guy's a fraud.
Really hard to tell, but I've heard suspicious conspiracy theories as well. Hard to tell. It seems like he spent a lot on a lot of the things he came in to do. The medical machine is so huge. I mean, it's a behemoth. So I don't think that's an easy system to change by any stretch.
True. 14 years of heroin use, getting people in his family addicted didn't help either.
Dr. Mojo, I'm wondering if I could make a special request. I was the first person in this room, and I read what's called the next steps from the Book of the Law with regards to anarchy, socialism, communism, fascism. Would it be okay if I quickly recited that to the room, Dr. Mojo?
Is it short?
Yes.
No.
Yes, it's very short.
Of course it's not.
It's very short. I read it to you when you first opened the room. Okay, hold on one second.
Oh man, you're supposed to read that. Your favorite communist just came back from her.
Wait, hold on. Are you calling Bima a communist?
Well, I mean, she doesn't actually want anarchy. She wants to remove our current government and replace it with her strict authoritarian government, where she rules everything.
Don't you think it's weird that the person that doesn't like government also likes oppressive regimes like Hamas that was elected to govern the people of Gaza?
Okay, I'm ready to read this. If you're ready to let me read it real quickly. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, go for it. Read it.
Okay, this is called the next step. Democracy daughters, ferocious fascism, cackling communism, equally frauds cavort crazily all over the globe. They are hemming us in. Liberty stirs once more in the womb of time. Evolution makes its changes by anti-socialistic ways. The abnormal man who foresees the trend of the times and adapts circumstance intelligently is laughed at, persecuted, often destroyed by the clubhouse herd. But he and his heirs, when the crisis comes, are survivors. Above us today hangs a danger never yet paralleled in history. We suppress the clubhouse individual in more and more ways. We think in terms of the herd. War no longer kills soldiers, it kills all indiscriminately. Every new measure of the most democratic and autocratic governments is communistic in essence. It is always restriction. We are all treated as imbecile children. DORA, the Shops Act, the motoring laws, Sunday suffocation, the censorship, Clubhouse deplatforming. They won't trust us to cross.
I like that last one.
They won't trust us to cross the roads at will. Fascism is like communism and dishonest into the bargain. The dictators of Clubhouse suppress all art, literature, theater, music, news that does not meet their requirements. Yet the world only moves by the light of genius. The Clubhouse herd will be destroyed in mass. In the words of the famous paradox of the Comte de Phoenix,